of thought. The Unicorn 4. Lady Ling, Lady Cat, Lady Class, Lady Kendra. Unicorn 4. Lady Kendra, Lady Class, Lady Cat, Lady Ling. Unicorn 4. You know. Unicorn 4. Lady Kendra, Lady Cat, Lady Ling, Lady Class. Unicorn 4.
Peace, folks, and welcome back to another edition of the Prophet of Thought series right here on the old T.L.O.T YouTube page. I'm your host, X, of course, but you knew that already. That's why you're here. Tonight, like every Thursday night, because I'm always looking forward to Thursday nights, because tonight, the Unicorn 4 is live and direct, T.L.O.T, the ladies of thought. And of course, my on-time unicorn who is here at 9:29 and 58 seconds every Thursday night. What's up, Lady Ming? What's good?
Nothing too much. How are you?
I'm good. Switch the picture, huh?
I did. That was taken last week in Jamaica, so I'm like, let me throw up a new picture.
I'm gonna have to steal that and put it on the promo.
I'm flattered. Thank you.
Lady Cats, I see you down there. What's good, Lady Cats?
Hello.
What's going on? I know y'all all be trying to beat Lady Ming here, but it's never going to happen because Lady Ming is here while I'm still doing the stage setup and all that. So, you know, I don't even have the music and the camera and stuff ready, and she's already here.
It's because, you know, as the anticipation starts to build, like, okay, we're about to go live. So I'm the type of person that can't sleep the night before something big is happening.
Oh, okay.
Because I think I'm going to miss my alarm, you know.
I know I sent y'all the link really late because, you know, it's a lot of stuff going on at old T.L.O.T Central around here. You know, we're doing some revamping, moving some stuff around. The location of the setup may change, so you know it's a lot going on. So you just gotta bear with old X for the next week or two, you know, because X got a lot of shit going on up here at the old T.L.O.T headquarters. So you know, sometimes you might not get the link till like 5 minutes before, because you know I'm in the midst of shit. Plus I gotta run my shop. I gotta leave from my shop, get my ass over here, take a quick shower, change clothes. I got to do all that. And then I have all the setup and all other shit to do. And then, I got to find at least a few moments to get something in my damn stomach and all that too. So, it's a lot going on. So just bear with old X for a couple of weeks. Trust me, it's going to get better. Yeah, I am amped up for tonight. The Cost of Life is the title, folks. So as you come in the door, please be so kind to hit that like button, because it don't take much for you to hit that old like button. All you got to do is take your hand and put right there. You see right there where that watching now is. Just put it right there, man. Put it right there. Right there. Put it right over that little button right there. See right there under the unicorn's picture. You see live control room, live events. You see watching now. And there's one thumb that does this. There's another thumb that does that. I mean, I prefer you to hit the one that does this, but God damn it, even hit that one. Just hit a damn button. Just be a person who has hit a button. What's up, Lady Classic? I see you down there.
Good evening, sir.
Hey, what's going on? Amped up for tonight, because I'm always waiting for Thursday nights, because you ladies never cease to amaze me with how you cover these topics. So, I'm always amped up for that. Of course, Lady Kendra, fashionably late as always. So, and oh yeah, somebody gave me a donation this morning. I always got to shout y'all out. I wish y'all would go ahead and donate while I'm on air. God damn it. You're always doing shit when I'm not on air, but I appreciate it just the same. But you already know that if you're watching, because I always send you an email. I'm going to put as a matter of fact, I will be putting the links in the chat some point in time. I'll be pulling them up, putting them in the chat, if y'all feeling generous tonight. You know what I mean? But yeah. Who the hell is that? Water Sniper, what y'all running y'all mouth about now? Do me a favor and escort Water Sniper to the door if you don't mind.
Wait, Brother X. Water Sniper is cool.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's cool.
Okay. You lucky, boy. You like to got your head chopped off. Better watch your mouth, though. Better watch your mouth. Or should I say, watch your keyboard fingers. Yeah. Tonight we're going to talk about the cost of life, because I think that a lot of times we as Black folks, we have a tendency to take a lot of shit for granted, and I happen to pull up a few things. And what a lot of people don't know, I mean, just for instance, just you bringing your Black ass into this world, the average cost, what do y'all think the average cost of a baby being born is? Just regular vaginal delivery. What do y'all think the average cost of that is?
About $40,000.
Not quite.
What?
Average is $18,000 for vaginal delivery. Now, of course, the old cesarean section is a bit more. That's
what I was kind of thinking about. I'm sorry, because I had to.
Yeah, that's about 30 grand. And even if you have, insurance, if you're an insured person, you still end up paying about $3,500 of that out of pocket. Even if you have decent insurance, you'll still pay upwards of like $3,500, $4,000 out of pocket. Raising those little buggers, how much y'all think that costs? Raising him up till the age of like 18, how much you think that is?
Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah. If we're including schooling, any type of medical bills, maybe sports, everything all together, yeah, hundreds of thousands, I'm imagining.
$250,000 it costs to raise a damn kid.
Damn.
So let me shout my damn children out. See how much money I spent raising you fools? I want it back.
Right.
And being that it's 4 of you, that means y'all owe me $1 million total. and I want it by the end of this damn week. I want
Think I
my
might send
meal.
this clip on.
Yeah,
Might
I
send
want
this
my
clip to
meal
my
by
daughter.
tomorrow. Yeah, I want my meal. I want my million by close of business tomorrow. Because it's about 14,000 per year on the low end and about $22,000 per year on the higher end. Um, the average cost of food in a household is about $6,600 on the year. Um, and you're talking about if you have just a family of say you have two children, right? You, your husband, two children, y'all end up spending upwards of $6,600 just in food alone. That's if you only have two kids. Of course, it goes up. It goes up if you have more than two kids, because you're talking about somewhere between $500 and $600, per month per person. So it goes up. You know what I'm saying? So it goes up if you have more kids. Clothing. The average family in America with two kids now, on the low end, you spend about $1,700 annually on clothes. On the high end, you spend upwards to $12,000. All right. Now, mind you, that's only about 3.5% of your family's expenses, but that's quite a bit of money. All right. Your electricity. All right. Electricity is about average, okay? Average somewhere between $30 and $60 a month. So you're talking about if you got two kids again, you're talking about anywhere between $10 and $15 per month on them little buggers, flipping lights, flipping switches, and playing their damn Xbox and whatnot. So, I know they like to take that for granted, but goddamn it, every time you flip that damn Xbox on, I'm paying for it. $2,200 average per year, okay? Per year. So over the course of a decade, you end up blowing somewhere between $20,000 and $25,000 just on your utilities alone. You know what I'm saying? When you're talking about your water and your lights, and if you have gas, like here, nothing's the same here. I mean, we have a separate water, we have lights, we have gas. All that shit is a different bill that comes here. When the bills come, it's a different bill from a different company, which sucks. It really, really sucks. And we get charged for damn sanitation because they pick up our damn garbage. But yeah. So when you're talking about the cost of living, is hell. Um, nothing in life is free, is the message tonight. Nothing in life is free. And I know that I know Lady Cats and Lady Classic don't have children, but Lady Ming, you do. So I know you know exactly where the hell I'm coming from.
Oh my God, yes. Just the cost of a box of Pampers could be
Mm-hmm.
$35, $40,
Mm-hmm.
and they're babies, so a newborn can boo boo 12 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
You just like running through the stuff, wipes and pull-ups and daycare. My kids' daycare is $268 a week. And at one point I had two children in daycare.
Wow.
I felt as if I was working to pay for daycare. It starts to feel that way. Coupled with insurance, the co-pays, depending on how your insurance is set up, what options you take through your company or however it is you're coming about it. That co-pay is $30, $40. The medicines, it all just adds up. And then I have boys, they grow very rapidly out of their clothes. Now, granted, I'm very grateful I have two boys because the 4-year-old can wear the 5-year-old's old clothes, but sometimes they still aren't growing at the same pace. So there's a gap. I still got to buy different things, shoes and stuff. That stuff starts to cost. And then the school costs, the fees and the school trips and the lunches and all those things. Because of the tax bracket we're in, we don't qualify for any help or subsidies or anything. So we're paying for everything. Plus having a daughter in college, That's a whole nother set of bills unto themselves. And then food, food, lights, gas, all those other things you have to keep up. That, if quite honestly, if you were a single person, not having to have anybody else depend on you, you may carry differently or not bother even having in the first place. So those are other costs. Now, we haven't even gotten into entertainment, because you have to keep them entertained or social. So my boys are in jujitsu. That's $350 a month,
Mm.
but it's necessary, but that's it. And then, now if we talk travel, if I want to get on a plane, we're going to Arizona for my husband's family reunion. I'm buying 6 plane tickets, because my stepdaughter as well. Not two, six.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of money when you start factoring all those things in. And if you have a little girl, you got to think about hair care and all those other things that come along with just their hygiene and maxi pads, because especially when they become full grown teenagers, and the amount of food, my boy's already eating us out of house and home. Big ass appetites. It's just a
Hmm.
lot. Wear and tear. So now your sofa that you may have been able to keep for 10, 15 years, well, you just bought a sofa and they didn't just marked it all up with something that won't come out, or had accidents, throw up, boo-boo accidents, because all that shit happens when they're kids and babies all over. So now you got to replace your sofa way more quickly than you would have had you not had children. Just the wear and tear on things.
Exactly.
I mean, all
Um,
those things have to be factored.
Now, even if you don't, because I know the other two unicorns, I know you ladies don't have children, but I know you incur costs just for a living. I mean, the life cost, I mean, life isn't free, even though, a lot of dudes who live in mom's basement seems to think that it is, but life is not free, my brothers. It's not, because even though you're not paying for your life, someone else is. Mom's buying the food, your ass eating. Mom's paying for the lights, while you down there playing Madden 9 hours a day instead of looking for an 8 hour a day job. Mom's paying for that. Mom's paying for the water for you to take your damn shower. And mom probably bought the bed you sleep in, the couch you sit on, and she probably bought the damn Xbox 2 that you're playing on, I would imagine, even though your ass is 36. But yeah. So what kind of costs do you ladies incur, even though you don't have little ones?
Well, like, I know for myself, I mean, I don't know about everyone else, but I know for myself, even when I was a little kid, like, I had a bank account from, I guess, my christenings and birthdays and whatever. Anytime anyone gave me money, it would go into this one bank account. And one of my parents fell on hard times, and it was kind of like, hey, you could sign over some of this money to us, and then we wouldn't get evicted. And then as soon as I was old enough to work, I would work damn near full-time hours, and I would be paying the mortgage. I knew exactly how much bills cost from the time I was really young, and I was in fact paying some from the time that I could work. Even babysitting money would go. I would babysit extra hours in the summers and stuff like that to try to, give back to my parents. And by the time I was 15, I was feeding myself and I was clothing myself. So in and of itself, going through that experience and wanting to kind of help my parents, well, actually needing to help my parents, even when I didn't live with them, has given me a kind of a different view on things. So like right now, I have a mortgage and I've got to pay the light bill, the water bill, this bill, that bill. I've got to pay for my insurance and for my gas, and I've got to pay back my credit card debt and my school loans, and I've got to worry about paying school as well when I go. And food, as something Ming brought up, which a lot of people aren't really aware of, but black hair care is actually relatively expensive even for your natural hair. Uh, you know, then on top of that, you can't just, work home. So, there are costs for my husband. He's got baseball that he plays, hardball. This will be his 20, 20, 20th, 20 something, 30th year. That's what it is. his 30th year playing baseball. And, that's hundreds of dollars right off the bat. You've got to plan for that. And of course, you've got to plan for times when it's people's birthday. It's my mom's birthday this week and stuff like that. So, the costs of living are relatively high, especially where I live here, where I live in a box. And to go live in a box somewhere that's 1,500 square feet in this neighborhood would cost you about $700,000 right now to buy a house. So you can imagine the cost of living as far as everything else in this area. So, when I go about things as far as cost of living, like I didn't turn on my air conditioner one time because I know that for every degree colder it is in this house, I can literally see the nickels and dimes floating around in my vision. And I just can't afford that. Or, I think about the heat. It's like 2 degrees colder in this house than I'd want it to be, but I know how much it costs to make it literally even 1 degree warmer. And, when I'm thinking about food, when I'm thinking about anything, I buy everything in bulk. Why? Because it's cheaper to buy, say, meat or other foods in bulk rather than to buy a serving size. Likewise, I cook in bulk. Why? Because you spend as much energy cooking a lot of, I don't know, whatever you're cooking, pork chops or whatever. You spend a lot of energy, turning on your oven and your stove and this and that. So I might as well cook a lot of it because I'm going to spend about the same amount of energy. And when I mean energy, I mean as in electricity and whatever other things, water. So I might as well cook in bulk. And then I'm spending less money overall turning on my oven and turning on my stove. So I'm really aware of the cost of living. And that being said, it's still really, really, really high. And that's without thinking about, paying back some things that we still have left to pay back for the wedding. Thinking about saving because we know that children cost an arm and a leg, and, we have to plan for that on top of, randomly something will explode in my house as far as a pipe, or something's wrong with the ceiling, something's wrong with the roof. So you've always got to have an emergency fund because at least once or twice a year you've got something between $500 and $2,000 that you've got to fix. And then there could be something going wrong with your car. Apparently my car just broke down recently, it needed something, that's a couple $1,000s. So ultimately when you just think about the cost of living, you're not just planning for things that monthly you've got to pay for, or common sense things, quote unquote. There's so many extraneous variables that you've got to kind of factor in.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Lady Cats? What's your expenses look like?
Well, when I was living with my parents, they always made me feel guilty about how much electricity I would use or how much this or that I would use. So I kind of lived life a bit of a minimalist. So my cost of living isn't really that high. I think like the highest thing for me, like one really big bill I used to have was college. Like, but I recently paid off the student loan. So that's gone, but I guess like the most that cost right now is probably my car. And sometimes like I have a soft spot for like certain people in my family, so I'll let people stay over, and then I'll be doing the same stuff that my parents used to do to me. Like I'll be like, why didn't you turn this light off in the kitchen? Why didn't you turn this? Why do you still have the TV on and stuff? Like, I guess like a lot of it would probably be electricity because people do not like to turn the lights off
Hell
after.
no.
They don't like to turn the TV off. Like, how sometimes with the TV you have a different remote for the TV than you do for your cable or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll turn the cable off, but they'll leave the TV on all night. Then I'll get mad, start an argument with somebody. They'll be like, you're tripping. Yeah. I'm all like, okay. You don't have to pay for this shit, but okay.
I get mad at my wife about that shit because she'll go in a room, turn the light on, be in there for like 20 seconds and come out the damn room and won't turn the light off. I'm like, why the hell are lights on in rooms that no one's in? I don't get it. No one is in the damn room. The light does not need to be on. I get on her ass about leaving the TV on and shit too. Like, why are you leaving the TV on and your ass in the kitchen cooking? Like, oh, because I was coming back in there. I'm like, you haven't been in this room in like 20 minutes. What you coming back and watch the show for 2 minutes and then you're gonna go back? You know, I mean, just because the cost of life, man. People don't see me. I'm a penny pincher when it comes to shit like that. All right. I'm not gonna leave a light on in a room that I'm not in. Like I get on my wife about this shit too. She'll turn the water on and run the water and like put a cup in there and let the shit run and then leave out of the kitchen and go do some other shit and come back like 5 minutes later. I'm like, you had the water running this whole time and you were like on the other side of the damn house. Like, what are you doing? Oh, I was coming back to it. I'm like, well, if you were coming back to it, how about you turn it off when you leave and then come back to it, then turn it on. I tell her the same shit about the lights. Walking in the room, turn the light on, grab some bullshit and walk out and walk right past that damn light switch like it's invisible and just go on about your damn business. She'll do that shit and go sit in the living room. I'm like, you knew you wasn't coming back in that room and you still left the goddamn light on. I think you do that shit just to piss me off, woman. Yeah, you do that shit to piss me off. But Lady Kendra has arrived. What's good, Lady Kendra?
Hey, how is everyone this evening?
Yeah, we just talking about the cost of life and expenses. If you want to chime in on yours, feel free to do so.
Man, is it a way for me to I don't even know what I gotta do, especially in Chicago, man. It costs way too much to live in Chicago. And we talking about the hood. The rent is out of control for a little 1-bedroom apartment that it don't even look all that good. It's not in a really good area. So why am I paying like $700 or more for a 1-bedroom in the hood? That don't make no sense. And if I don't want to be in the hood, you better be prepared. If you want to move to Hyde Park or you want to move to Oak Park, you better be prepared to pay upwards of $1,300 for a 1-bedroom, maybe two, in a decent area. They gouge you, and then you need to get a place that you don't have to pay the heat in, because people's gas, they like to get it in with no Vaseline. They like to just bend you right on over, no lubricant, and because wintertime in Chicago is very rough, so you need some heat. And if you paying people's gas, you're in these apartments that aren't weatherized, so all your heat just go out the window or go out the door, and you find yourself trying to manage it. How I'm paying you for the heat bill, but I still got to turn on my stove to get the house warm? That don't make sense. So it's just really, really expensive. You really have to penny pinch. These lights is off. You better learn how to like the darkness. And if it's in the daytime, you better try to open a blind or something like that, get some natural sunlight in here, open your eyes, because all these lights being on, that's a no-go. No, I'm not going to pay these people this kind of money to basically, this is just basic stuff we're talking about. And you will have your bill over $100 for a light bill. My bill be like $40 in the wintertime for my lights. That's how strict I am with the lights.
Well, let's talk about that, because in different parts, because I know everybody is from different places. I know Lady Classic, she all the way up there in Canada. I believe Katz is in Louisiana, and I know Lady Ming and Lady Kendra, y'all in Chi-Town, right? So you talk about different geographical locations. I know where I live at. The house that I have, the house that me and my lady have, we're leasing with the option. And this house is it's a pretty decent sized house. It's 2,500 square feet total, and it's on an acre of land, but it's a flat. It's not a double. It's a flat. It's 2,500 square feet. It's on an acre of land, and we pay $1,500 a month for our lease. Now we're leasing with the option, which it isn't that bad, given the area that we are. Because most places around here are like $2,000 a month, $2,200 a month. But the reason why we're paying a little less than that is because we're leasing, with the option. We're actually revisiting the option in September of this year, as a matter of fact. So, I'm thinking about buying it. I'm on the fence. I'm not sure yet, but $1,500 a month will get you a decent place. I mean, you'll have a decent place to live down here. Now, if you want to go cheaper than that, where we are, because they got places that you can rent for, say, $1,000 a month, $800 a month, $700 a month, and you'll still be in a decent area. Now, if you want to pay like $400 a month or $500 a month, that's straight hood. That's over there on the north side where they be finding bodies at and shit, and broken glass everywhere, and then crackheads are just a normal. They're just a normal fixture. Now they got places out here with they got houses you can rent down here for $200 a month, but them shits is in the shittiest area. Okay, I'm talking when you pull up in that neighborhood, it's shit. But it goes all the way. The rents will go all the way from like $200 a month all the way up to like say $2,500 a month. And by the cost, that dictates the area. Like the area that we live in is a pretty decent area. We live in Provincetown, so it's a pretty decent area. It's like 60% white folks, and the other 40% is a mixture of Negroes, Hispanics, and Asians. So it's pretty quiet. No broken bottles, no crackheads walking down the street, and I can actually leave my garage door open and come back and ain't nothing missing. So it's that kind of neighborhood. But one thing over here that I noticed from moving from the other side of town, that I pay more for my water than I did when I was north. I pay more for my lights too. And I also have to pay sanitation to get my garbage picked up. And when I lived on the north side, I didn't have to pay none of that shit. So it's like, it's decently priced, but at the same time, they sticking me on some other shit. So it kind of sucks actually, because I'm saving on the house, but I'm losing on the other shit, the utilities, the water. Now I have to pay gas. I didn't have to pay gas when I lived at the other place. So it's just extra shit, man. They just found a way to get into a brother's pockets. But when you talk about the cost of living, because I know for a dude, our cost of living ain't that much. A dude, all we need is, we need some towels, we need some deodorant, we need some toothpaste, toothbrush, some soap. We don't need much as dudes, maybe a little bullshit for our hair and shit like that. But women now, y'all cost of living is different, because y'all got a lot of extra parts and canvases that have to be maintained. So y'all have to buy extra shit. So what is your cost of your personal living, not your your bills and your lights and all that shit, just to maintain? Like me, my cost ain't that much. I mean, I spend on, say, soap, toothpaste, deodorant, maybe cologne, razors and shit like that. It's probably about $30 a month, $35 a month. I mean, if I buy something extra, then, you tack on maybe another $20, $30, $40. Maybe I buy a big old bottle of shaving cream or a big old bottle of lotion or some shit like that on a month. But I could actually, take care of my hygiene like $30 a month. All right. Because you're talking about soap, toothpaste, deodorant, lotion, shaving cream, razors, $30 a month. I could do that. Yeah, as a dude, I could do that. And still don't have to walk out the house stinking, because I'll buy a bottle of cologne. That shit gonna last me for a while. So it's not like I'm buying cologne every month. But you ladies, y'all kind of ingest some other costs. So what y'all talk about that?
Well, I mean, obviously, one major difference between men and women is women have to have the cost of either maxi pads, tampons, something for their period monthly, and that is monthly until you die or hit menopause. But and I mean, a lot of people, like, my period started when I was in middle school, so this has been a monthly cost since middle school, and they make sure to jack up the prices on everything. So I think for a box of tampons, it's like $10 almost here. So that's $10 monthly, but like until you're what, 56 maybe. My mom hasn't gone through menopause yet, and she's 53 now. So I don't know. I might go through it late, but obviously we also have the cost of grooming, because the average woman shaves or waxes or something her legs, underarms, eyebrows, the your upper lip hair. You've got to take care of all those things. A lot of women wear makeup. I personally don't, but since I sold makeup for a really long time, I can tell you that the cost of actually getting um, a good array of makeup, as far as foundations, and you've got powder so that way you're not oily, and then you've got lipstick, and you've got contouring, and you've got all your eyeshadows, mascara, eyeliner. I mean, the list goes on and on. As far as that type of stuff, you might need to get yourself a little bit of moisturizers, extra moisturizers, not just what you would normally put on, but if you're going to be wearing a skirt or a dress of some sort, you've got to make sure your legs, your feet look proper. So with that being said, of course, you've got the cost of, pedicures, manicures. And if you're going to do it at home, that's still a cost that you have inherently. And then you've got hair, which right now is a cost as far as time and money, because your natural hair, I don't mean permed. Right now, my hair is not permed. I don't have weave, just my natural hair. It costs a lot of money. I think it has to do with, ultimately, our hair tends to be, when you compare men to women, women's hair is actually harder to deal with. And I think it has a lot to do with our natural hormones that we secrete, and the way that our body reacts to the chemicals on our scalp and whatever, and keeps our acid mantle all over our skin intact. But the point is that it's often incredibly difficult. You have to run through a lot of products, then you find the right products. Those products cost a lot of money. Obviously, you have to be able to take the time and energy, and that has nothing to do, obviously, with eating, because we might have special dietary concerns. We need to make sure we're taking in enough calcium, because the average woman is more at risk for osteoporosis, for example. So, I mean, and that's all, again, without you factoring in, obviously, life costs, as far as your housing and this and that and whatever, your scent, fragrances, everything. I mean, it really does. If you want to actually be a person and go out there and face the world, and you have a job or you go to school or whatever, it does cost a fair amount of money for you just to be able to do that and kind of look like a well-groomed, respectable person.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm extra cheap. Um, Soap and stuff like that come from Dollar Tree, straight up. Get some good soap too. Buy a couple of bars of that. Last me a month or so. Um, I like the good toothpaste, so I buy Rembrandt, and that's like $6 or $7. Deodorant, man, deodorant lasts me forever. I get that 2-pack of Degree for women. That stuff lasts me forever because you only need like 2 swipes. Feminine hygiene, I just buy that in bulk. So I'll buy like a big pack of like pads for like $6. That lasts me for like 2 months. And then for hair, um, man, all I do to my hair, that's probably the most expensive thing, probably, because my shampoo is like $5 or $6, because I forgot the name of it. Jamaican Roots or something like that. It's like really good shampoo, and then the conditioner is like the same, about $5 or $6. And for like I grease my scalp with Dax, man. Dax cost me like $2.99, and I put like little oils and stuff in it. That lasts me for like 3 or 4 months. It's a small bottle too. It lasts me a long time. And makeup I don't really wear. So I don't have like expensive makeup. Like I would literally go to the beauty supply store and buy lipstick for $1. Like, because I don't wear it much. I have the same makeup for a year or more. It'll get old before I run out of it. Like I have to throw it away before I run out. Cause I don't wear makeup. I probably wear makeup like 2 or 3 times a month. I don't really wear it. Perfume I don't buy. Probably some body spray every once in a while. I do that. Um, I don't like perfume. Um, if I do anything, it'd probably be like body oil or something. But I don't like perfumes. And man, that's about it, man. And like I spend money on my skincare, like my skin routine. Like I'll get like that's probably that the shampoo and the skin routine is probably the most that I spend. So I'll buy like something to clean my face, an astringent and like a moisturizer for my face. So I'll probably get away with monthly expenses are probably around $50 or make something like that. Because I try not to make my monthly expenses monthly. I try to buy stuff in bulk so I don't have to buy it no more. Like I'm extra cheap.
The lady's pretty much covering all the things that as women we kind of have to buy. Um, the only difference is probably like, the products in which we choose to buy. I'm the type of person, I'm kind of in the middle of low and high maintenance. I'm not low maintenance, but I'm definitely not high maintenance. I know the value of $1 and the value of quality product. Um, my hair, because I have it locked up, I'm the type of person that doesn't do anything for myself if it in terms of maintenance of your body, except my eyebrows. I have my eyebrow arch game to a T, and my eyebrows are so big and I've had them messed up. That's something I choose to just do myself. So I don't pay anybody to do my eyebrows. I done figured out they look good, get compliments, good. I don't need somebody to do that for me. But my hair, nails, feet, and stuff like that, I do that. I send somebody else to do it. I don't wash my own hair or anything, but I get my hair done every 6 weeks. It's $100 every 6 weeks. I wear the style up for 3 weeks, and then after that, she does it. My locks are crinkly, so it still looks like I just freshly got them done because they've been really tightly twisted in the style. Wear that for probably a week and a half or so, and then I might put it in a ponytail. Different variations of a ponytail because my locks are really long. So that's pretty much that. And then my nails and feet, I get a no chip manicure, which lasts me about 3 weeks, and I get a pedicure. That's about $65 each. Um, in terms of smell goods, I have the Victoria's Secret, Bath and Body Works, or just off-brand smell goods, but I am also a cologne buyer. So I do have my scents, and I like what I like. So I do have Gucci and Marc Jacobs and um, Sean John and stuff like that, but they last long. They don't. I don't go buy it that often. When I buy it, it lasts a very long time because I change up how I want to smell. I'm a shea butter type of person too, so I order shea butter about like 3 to 5 pound bags of it because my whole family like uses it for the most part. Even though I have the smell good lotions and stuff too, but just everyday moisturization is with shea butter. And I also use the African black soap too in the tub in ivory or not ivory, but oil of Olay. That's what I buy. Um, as far as my biggest expense would probably be in clothing and shoes. I probably have well over 100 pair of shoes. But the thing is that I can point out these shoes are 10 years old. These shoes are 5 years old. These shoes are 15 years old. I've only wore these gym shoes one time because I don't dog my stuff out. So I had a belt that I left down in my mother-in-law's house when we got back from Jamaica, and he went down on a business trip earlier in this week. And I'm like, you got to stop by there and get that belt because I spent a lot of money on it, but it's 15 years old. It's a leather belt that doesn't have that, you know how they put the paper in the back of them belts and shit, so it's just really one-sided, but it's both-sided. And I've had it for that long. I've been fortunate that my weight fluctuation hasn't really varied that much to where I grow out of all my clothes that much. So I keep things. You know what I mean? Like I really take care of things. So I will buy, I don't shop name brand, but I shop good quality product, leather, shoes, real leather, or this, that, and the third. I'm Old Navy. I'm in love Old Navy, but they make quality products. They're not expensive, but Old Navy makes very good quality products. You can have a pair of jeans for 10 plus years without anything happening to them, no shrinkage or anything like that. So, I'm kind of like that, but I've come a long way. In my 20s, I was very frivolous. Like when I was in my mid 20s and stuff like that, I didn't even, wash. I would send everything to the cleaners outside of the undies and the cottons and t-shirts and stuff like that. I sent everything to the cleaners. So I've kind of had to change because, life hits you fast and you have to adjust. So I think I've gotten a lot better. Some people may say, well, shit, she still spend a lot of money and do things. But if you knew who I was, I've come a really long way. How do you think I accumulated over 100 pair of shoes? Not because I'm out there buying them now. It's because I've had them for a while and took care of them. So, that means that money was spent a lot in the past, you know.
So
But in terms of, go ahead.
let me ask you ladies this. What do you think of, because I hear this often, I've heard it on media as well, where people say, oh man, money's not important. I don't need money, and all money has no value. You hear this shit, which is just ridiculous. Because if I know me, if you took money out of my life, I would be fucked up. So I can't even sit up here and say, oh, money's not important. Now money's not everything, but if you was to take money out of X's life, I would probably be emailing y'all saying, yo, can I come crash on your couch? Because see, I no longer have a house or a car or anything. So what do you ladies think about the money doesn't mean anything narrative?
That's fantasy. I mean, it means as much as at the very bare bottom, it means survival. I mean, it can't mean absolutely nothing considering that's what makes the world go round. That's what feeds you, clothes you, bathes you, houses you, um, or whatever. So it can't just not mean anything. However, I don't think that there should be a love of money because that type tends to corrupt a little bit. I think that you should have a practical and a really good handle on money and what it means and the freedom that it buys or doesn't buy. I don't think you should be so married to money that it rules and runs you because then you don't understand the struggle. I mean, because there's a lot of character building and personality building and love building, depending on who you go through the struggle with, that the struggle becomes a necessity. And you can't do that if you're always trying to put money first and chase after the money. Hence the reason why a lot of those people don't have souls. But that's a whole nother topic. So money has to have a meaning because unfortunately that's the way that we run this world.
Money has a meaning. It has a use. It has a usefulness. We know what we can do with money. Um, it's just striking a balance. You know what I'm saying? Money has its uses, but I'm not going to be consumed with the pursuit of it at any cost. There are certain things that I'm not going to do. And if I got to do that to get a few dollars, I won't have the few dollars. You know what I'm saying? I would have to be in a situation of extreme um, need to start compromising who I am and what I will do for money. Um, as long I'm excessively low maintenance. As long as I have a place to stay, some decent food I can eat, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not just wondering when my next meal is going to be or how my rent's going to get paid. I'm Gucci. Like, I really don't need really more than my necessities. I mean, the only thing that I would like is, I got an Amazon addiction. If I can go on Amazon once or twice a month and, you know, buy a couple of things here and there that I just kind of want, then I'm good with that. Like, I don't need a big house. I don't need, the fanciest car. I don't need a wardrobe full of clothes. I don't even really buy clothes. I've been making clothes for 20 years. I won't even really go get the material to make more clothes. Like, I got 2 pair of gym shoes that I bought 5 years ago, and I ain't even stunting buying none. Like, I got 1 pair of winter boots that I bought like 3 winters ago. They're nice winter boots. They're really nice winter boots. I pay like $150 for them. I don't expect to buy them again. I got one pair of Birkenstock sandals that I bought like 3-4 years ago. That kind of stuff. Like I don't need. I'm just one of them people. I don't see money as this thing that I just got to do anything for. I need money for what I need it for, and beyond that, I ain't really sweating.
Mm. A word to you brothers in the Chi-Town area. You might be wanting to holler at old Lady Kendra there, because she that might be the type of woman you might be looking for, brother. Just making a suggestion. just making a suggestion. You might want to be hollering at Lady Kendra. Next up.
Well, I guess for me, like, I don't know. I think that the way that I kind of see it is much of the way that Kendra just said it. Money has a use. So, is it meaningful to me? If anything, it means to me only like there's a certain amount of money that obviously I need in order to pay my bills, for example, or to make sure I'm not starving. To make sure I have the necessities. So for me, if anything, money kind of means not having the lack of what I need to take care of as far as like the basics. But like, does money have a meaning to me as far as like I care how much money you make, or I care about your tax bracket, I care that you make $100,000. Like, I don't really care about all of that as long as the necessities are met. That's good enough for me. And so I think that when you're looking at money, uh, too many people are looking at money and thinking that money has a meaning as far as your actual value. The human being that has $100,000 is a better human being than the one who has $28,000 a year as far as their income potential. And I don't look at it as far as that. I've dated people who have had nothing, and I've dated millionaires, and I've dated everything in between. And ultimately, what it came down to me for was the person, the individual. And as far as what I wanted to say, gifts wise, or to take care of me or whatever, like I was never that person. I was never that person who could value money and find so much meaning in money that I could overlook who you are. Or it would make me think you're more attractive, or that expensive suit is a nicer looking thing than that cheap suit. Like, I've never been the type of person who can tell. And I'm the type of person who, like, if you buy a pair of jeans and you tell me you got them for $10, I'm like, oh my God, where? Right? Like, I don't care that they're no name brand, knockoff, whatever. Oh, they look good and they were $10. You're lucky. That's a steal. Tell me where I can find that. So, as far as money goes, I think that a lot of people in society put way too much value and meaning into money. And I think that a lot of us, because we've gone through lacking at some point. We've lacked, we've been hungry, we've been scared of eviction, or we've been evicted, we've been homeless, we've been something. And so money, at first, it becomes this thing. Yeah, you need it. You need it. It has huge meaning. Anyone that has some money is better than you because you have none. But, I think we take it too far. We get enough to be comfortable and maybe get a house, or, rent a nice apartment or whatever. And then we start thinking that we're not good enough because we're not in the next tax bracket. And then we get there and we start thinking we're not good enough. And it's all based on money and the meaning we're putting on it. So I think for me, I've never done that. And I think that it kind of serves me well. I make sure that I save. I make sure that I'll be okay if suddenly money disappears, because it does have meaning, and it's the only way that I'm going to be able to eat and have heat and have water. And those basics that I never want to be starving again. I never want to be homeless again. But that's about as far as its meaning goes for me.
Lady Katz. Is Lady Katz back?
Yes, I'm back. So what was the question? If money matters?
Yeah, what do you think about the, money doesn't mean anything crowd, or, because you have some people say, oh, we don't need money. Money has no value. What do you think of that narrative?
I think they're a little off base, because like in America, we live in a capitalist society, so we do need money to basically survive. Like, anybody who will say, no, we need guns first, or we need this first or that first. Well, all of that goes back to money. You need money to be able to pay for your food, pay your bills. If you want a gun, you need money for that. You need money to pay for schools and all different types of stuff. So, money basically runs the world. And, I guess I kind of get what they're trying to say. Like, I'm not so obsessed with money to the point to where, like, it would drive me crazy if I didn't have a whole bunch of it, but at the same time, I do understand that money is something that everyone needs in order to survive. And those who don't have any find it very difficult to survive.
Exactly. I don't when people talk about money, like, oh, money doesn't have any value. Money would only lose value in a scenario where, like, say, because long as things are the way they are now, money's going to have value, whether it's paper money, digital money, credit cards, electronic money. It's going to have value as long as we live the way we live now. The only way I could see that currency, money itself, will never have value is if a damn meteorite hits this damn earth and knocks all kinds of shit out and makes it so there's no electricity, there's no water, there's no shit like that. Then money would not really have no value because there's nothing you could really buy with it, because there would be no commerce, because stores would be ripped, rocked, and wasted. So there would be like no kind of commerce. Therefore, money would have no value. You would have to trade other things. You would have to trade things like water, gasoline, food, guns, shit like that. You couldn't really buy shit because commerce would be over, if the moon crashed into the earth or some shit like that. But money on a whole, because how are most of us divided? When you really think about it, when you think about racism, all of us, we black folks, when you think about racism probably has a lot more to do with money than we would give it credit for, as much as it does color. Because if you have things that people on the lower socioeconomic scale have been priced out of, who does that affect the most? It usually affects brown and black people the most. If you have things that are based on X amount of cost, it costs this much to go to this college, it costs this much to have this car, it costs this much to live in this neighborhood. Who are the people who are more likely to be priced out? Black and brown people, depending on the geographical location. So what effect do you ladies believe that money has on us, far as discrimination, bigotry, and bias?
I think what happens, like, they talk a lot about the caste system, right? So I think how it affects black people is that, like, a lot of black people want to talk about colorism and stuff because they figure lighter skinned people are more able to have economic opportunities, because, like, when they used to have like that caste system and stuff, it would be white people at the top making the most money. So the closer you are to white, the more money you got. And it's still kind of like that, but it's more covert. But I think it's had a huge psychological effect on black people, especially in America, because, like, a lot of black people still harp on like the whole colorism thing. And really, I feel like a lot of women who talk about colorism, what they really want to talk about is the opportunities that they think they're missing out on, as opposed to the actual color of their skin. If that makes sense.
I get it. I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Next up.
Well, the way that I see, as far as it's concerned, I mean, since we are a minority of the population to begin with, obviously you can't say that all the people in poverty are only Black and everyone else is not. And so I think that that is where, when you get those kind of racist rhetoric talking points, this is where the confusion comes in, where they try to make it seem like, well, you're not really set up to fail. But the simple fact is that if you just look at us as an individual population, we have a large percentage of those of us who are currently living either below the poverty line or they're the working poor of some sort. And, you know, forget the welfare moms and stuff like that. That's what we focus on, not focusing on the people who are literally the working poor, who literally have to be on welfare for any number of reasons while they work a lot of hours, because you know what, they cannot get a job that will give them full-time hours because these mega corporations know that they don't have to. And so what you're looking at is a lot of us, a larger percentage of us than not, that are being born into poverty to begin with. And it's a cycle that has been passed down. It's like a culture. Poverty as a culture has been passed down from generation to generation to generation. So in and of itself, just right there, you know how to be poor. You've been taught how to be poor. You've been taught how to survive and how to struggle and how to make it through and how to not fall victim to this, that, and the next thing. But I mean, have you really been taught to acquire money, to thrive, to succeed, to get out of the neighborhood, or to get yourself out of poverty? Um, Probably not. And it's because if your parents had known how to do that, there's a good chance they would have. If they had a lot of parents, you know, they wish that they could, they wish that they would have been able to, but, you know, they're missing some key factor. There's no one there to kind of guide them. So they're not there really to guide their own children. And their children will often fall into the same traps that they do very early, you know, the credit card trap, for example. Some who are saying, well, you know what, we're going to do better. My baby got into college, and then they get out of college and then they are strapped with so much debt without any jobs available because, you know, system lied to them and told them if they went to college, they would come out and the jobs would be plentiful and the money would be plentiful. And, you know, that was your way out. And it so very often isn't. And so I think at the end of the day, when you look at what the people who have money versus people who don't have, and you look at our community, even a lot of us who are out of, say, lower class neighborhoods and in middle class and whatever, even in the upper class, we are still thinking poor. We think like poor people. We think like, you know, basically like we never really got out. And so as a result, I think that all of those benefits kind of that you would get as being middle class or above, all of that comfort and that security and all that stuff that they sell you, at the end of the day, even when we get out, we never really feel like we're out. And the system is always set up in such a way not to give us the breaks anyway. So we kind of always are. We feel like it, but we also are kind of always on the precipice where we could easily fall right back down.
You know, I think the thing of it is this country, as much as it is a white supremacist country, it is a capitalist country. And the setback in our socioeconomic status doesn't start at the job, it starts in the classroom. Because the mere fact that we get jobs and they start businesses is a problem. Because they're socialized to do that. They're taught in their schools, in their public schools. They don't have to go to a private school. They don't have to go to a Montessori school. They don't have to go to a special school. Just their regular school, funded by the state, socializes white people and their children in a certain way. And one of those ways is that it gives them actually proper education befitting what they will face when they become adults in this country. They are given a working knowledge of economics. They are given a working knowledge of business, the concept of capitalism, different concepts that will actually help them to create their own business because that is actually where the wealth is. Wealth is not in the job. The rhetoric of pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, that's just to get the sheep working hard. That's not for bosses, that's for sheep. And unfortunately, we're the sheep. When we go to school, first of all, our education is not up to par. The curriculum, the way in which the curriculum is taught, the way in which we are socialized in our schools is markedly different in the poorer neighborhood of a, let's say, of a urban city than it is very different from the white schools in that same city. The funding is even distributed differently. The white schools, which are typically in the higher echelon of the socioeconomics ladder in a city, is funded more. It has more extracurricular classes, things that the students might be interested in, all these tutorial things. They're taught these things. And if you go to the poor neighborhood in the school, you have these books that are 4, 5, 6 years old. You're not being taught in the best way. You're not being paid attention to. There are 35 students to a class, maybe even 40. It's overcrowded like a prison. Um, so we don't. So our setback actually starts at school. The education actually would be the ultimate equalizer, but it isn't, and it's done on purpose. And so when we become adults, the first thing that we have to do is get a job. Now, I'm not saying everybody can't be an entrepreneur and a business owner. Okay. For as many people who own businesses, there have to be people who work those businesses also. So I'm not like shitting on getting a job. But what I am saying is that we're socialized to only get a job, that is the highest thing that we can do. We get a job to make that 6 figures, not I own a business and I make 6 figures. I'm working somebody else's business and making those 6 figures. I'm at somebody else's beck and call making those 6 figures. So if I'm making 6 figures, the CEO is making how many? So, this is how, like Ruby's saying, this is how we teach each other to struggle. We don't understand passing wealth through lineage. We don't really get it because we don't really have it and we're not really taught and socialized that way.
Brother X, restate the question for me, please.
Um, I was saying that. Damn, I done forgot the damn question.
And I stepped away at the beginning of
I
the
was sitting
sentence.
here listening to Lady Kendra. Lady Kendra had you speechless, boy. God
Hey,
damn
what she
it.
said? What she
Um,
said?
God, I forgot what the hell I had asked. Jesus Christ, that's never happened before. Um, I think I was asking about damn. I was asking something about currency and if whether or not money would have an impact. I talked about how, you have to have X amount of money for this car, X amount of money for this house, and how does money impact racism, discrimination, and bias? I think that's what I asked.
I
Yeah,
think that
something like that.
I think that money kind of affords some black people a false sense of security as if they belong, because money does open doors for anyone, and you'll sometimes be let into some of those circles if you got enough money, but you're still never part of the group. I think that money gives black people a false sense of security, just kind of like bottom line. And that's not their fault because society has made having money or not having money such a huge thing. I see, like when I lived in Boston, people would ask me, wow, you didn't have any racist issues, which I did not. But what I did notice was that it was a big class divide. If you were over or in a certain class, you were able to. It wasn't about what you would look like or what your race was or whatever it was. It was a lot of haughty people. A lot of wasp and things like that. So I think that just overall, as a black person, it just gives you a false sense of security, like you're almost untouchable and it won't happen to you. And that's what we see all day in the media too. A lot of celebrities or people with influence who, once it does happen to their ass, they realize that the money really don't mean shit.
Mm.
That's what I think.
Well, that's kind of a problem with us. I believe that a lot of us, like Lady Kendra was speaking about a few minutes ago, we haven't been taught, many of us, not all of us, but many of us, we haven't been taught, the understanding of finance and money and saving and investing and things of that nature. Because what's the difference between a person who has a job and a person who has wealth? I mean, when you're talking about a person who has a job, he works for his money. A person who has wealth makes their money work for them. So, I mean, that's usually the key differences. I think a lot of times as we come up, as youngsters going through school and going through colleges and universities and things like that, we're taught to work for our money as opposed to having our money work for us. And I think that's how you kind of establish wealth. I mean, even if you start in the beginning working for your money, for you to have wealth, eventually you have to figure out how to make your money work for you. So those differences are very stark. Um, Money doesn't just have a discriminatory effect on us as black society and white folks, like you ladies were talking about earlier. A lot of times money divides us as a people within black society. I mean, because you have the haves and the have-nots, which usually translates into the can and the cannots, you know, because see, a lot of times when you have money, that makes the difference between whether or not you can or can't do something, I mean, because for instance, if you have people living in a staunch down ghetto, the lower end ghetto, I mean, you're not gonna see uh a lot of extravagance. I mean, you'll see Jordans and shit like that, which makes no sense being that your ass broke, but you won't see extravagance. You won't see the extravagance in a torn down ghetto. You won't see it. But if you move away from the ghetto and you move to an upper echelon, not even a rich neighborhood, if you move to an upper middle class neighborhood, you will start to see some degree of extravagance. You will see nice houses. You will see nice cars. That will be a regular thing. I mean, if you're in the ghetto, if somebody's coming through with a nice car, one would assume, they sell drugs or they sell weed or they sell guns or something like that if they're living in like the ran down ghetto. But if you move to like a upper middle class or high class neighborhood, expensive cars would be something you would see normally. Nice houses you would see normally. So money has a tendency to not just divide other races, it'll divide us too. And a lot of times, because a big percentage of us, to the tune of like, I think now it's 27.5%, which is one out of every four of us is living at the poverty line or below it. So you're talking one out of every four black people that find themselves in the cannot category because they are have not. Therefore, they are also a cannot. I mean, a person who's living in poverty isn't going to drive a really, really nice car. A person who's living in poverty isn't going to be living in a really, really nice house in the middle of a really, really nice neighborhood. It's just not that common. So they are part of the cannot crowd. So let me ask you ladies this. What do you think when we talk about poverty? And I know on this platform, I have a tendency to talk about poverty a lot. When we talk about poverty, what do you think the answer to poverty is? Do you believe the answer to poverty is money, or is it something else?
I
I
don't think
think.
that. Go ahead. Go
Okay,
ahead.
you sure? Okay.
Okay.
I think that the answer to poverty is sacrifice. Um, if you are in poverty right now, whatever your situation is right now, you are not going to be the one who is going to not be impoverished. What you would have to do is make the sacrifice so that way the next generation won't be. That is to say, if you are willing to be the one who is living in poverty, who's going to be the one who's going to take all the hits, who's going to take all the suffering, who is going to take the struggle and the fear and the everything to change things for your offspring, then your offspring are the ones who then can reap the benefits of that. Now, with that being said, I'm not saying that that's, a simply easy thing to do. I know that I say that because I saw my parents do it. My parents moved out of the area that, had I been born and raised in the area that my parents lived in and were born and raised, well, not born, but raised in and, had me in, I likely would have turned out like my cousin, the one who's been in and out of jail and this and that and whatever, crime riddled, and there's not a lot of opportunity there, et cetera, et cetera. My parents took the hit. Their lives had to take a hit. All their hopes and dreams had to be put on hold. Their comfort had to be put on hold. They moved me out of there, and they made sure that my earliest memories were comfortable. They did everything in their power to make sure my childhood, that critical developmental time where your body biologically is actually choosing a strategy. Or is your strategy going to be one of suffering? Because if there is a biological imperative there, where I think it's around the age of 8 years old or so, your body actually picks up the fact whether or not you live in comfort or you live in suffering, and it takes a path based on that. So your path will be, if you live in suffering and hunger and a lack of security, then your body biologically starts to prepare you to have children a lot earlier, and to not really invest in them because times are unsure. Food is unsure, security is unsure. So it's unsure how many of your offspring will live, but it will be a lower percentage. So you've got to have a lot more so that way you have some offspring that live in order to reproduce. And that's where you see a lot of things kick in, where people will, for example, they'll be with one person who's going to offer them some type of money and whatever, and then they're going and they're looking for the better genetic match in order for them to have children with and to have a lot of children, and et cetera, et cetera. These are all things that, yes, definitely we have a socialized aspect, but there is also a biological aspect to that, because biologically, from the time of hunter-gatherer societies, we actually see the exact same pattern. Whereas, and if you are born into security and around that time of 8 years old, that's what you felt is safe and secure, food isn't at risk, whatever, whatever, you actually will start developing sexually later. You will actually hold off on having children, and you will have less of them, and you will invest more resources into the less children that you have. You'll invest as many resources as you can into each child to make sure each one is able to become a good quality, basically child, in essence, to become a good quality adult, to pass down their genes, et cetera, et cetera. Um, so I think that, when you look at it from that standpoint, then that the only thing that you can do is take that hit. If you're living in poverty now, you got to get out. You've got to take the hit. You've got to make those sacrifices, and you've got to make those hard choices, and you've got to work those 5 jobs, and et cetera, whatever it is you need to do. And the next generation, your offspring, are the ones who are going to be able to start living that maybe lower middle class, but still out of poverty life. And but what they'll be able to do then with that life is they're going to be able to pass on something that is in poverty to their children. And so their children are the ones that you're going to see are the ones who are finally free of poverty. But it starts with sacrifice today.
I don't think that, well, let's put it this way. I think that money is a piece of the puzzle, but I don't think it's the sole thing. But when we look at money, I don't mean that it's important literally, like, what Obama did when he gave everybody, that extra money at tax time. I don't mean it that way. I mean that money is important insofar as what you do with the money in terms of investing it back into the community and helping it to build resources for the people who are in poverty. I think poverty is almost akin to when you're overwhelmed with something, how instead of facing it bit by bit, you choose to just stay in the bed and hide under the covers because it's just too much. I think that's exactly what poverty is. You're hiding because it's just too much and overwhelming. Now, typically you are overwhelmed because you don't understand the problem or you don't have the skill set or resources to properly address the problem. And by then, so when we look at poverty, those things are like literacy, financial education, just just education overall. Um, Pretty much, if we start there, therapy, life coaching, really infusing hope back into the community by helping them instead of fishing for them, teaching them how to fish. That's what I really think the issue is. So yes, money is an issue with poverty, but I don't think it's an issue insofar as you don't have enough money. I just think it's not enough money being reinvested back into the community so that those people in poverty could then learn to help themselves. I have yet to meet a person who, um, when they had everything they needed, they didn't strive to be better. Now, granted, we can always say, well, rich kids, they have everything and they don't strive to be better, but that's not what we're talking about right now. I'm talking about people who have come from nothing and ended up having something. They continue to strive better. And the differences between those two people, a lot of the time, is the hope, the drive, the determination, and the ambition. And if you don't have that, somebody that's in your corner that's constantly pushing you and motivating you and mentoring you in the right direction, that's what they lack, and you need money in order to make some of those things happen. So that's what I think.
I think the key to poverty is all of it. Yeah, money. Yeah, you need money to address a money problem. But it can't just be the lack of money. Exhibit A, professional entertainers that were filthy rich and that are not rich. Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Lawrence Taylor, a whole slew of other basketball players and football players and boxers and fighters. All these guys had millions of dollars. They should never have been broke again, neither their children nor their children's children. But they lost their money. And this is because they didn't have the proper education. And then here, when I say education, I don't just mean sitting in a classroom and 2 + 2 is 4, but understanding that you have to live at or below your means. And now I'm going to talk about people who aren't filthy rich or have never been. But let's say you got a pretty decent job. Let's say you do make, 50 or 60,000 or more. You can't live in a place that you can barely afford. See, one of the things that people who make money or who end up with money do is they get out of debt. It's one of the things they do. And a lot of times they have to sacrifice a heavy, heavy toll to get out from under debt. A credit card is not free money. It is not a little card that gives you a pass to buy things without cash. You owe that money. It is a credit card. That means we'll give you this now, but you owe us later with interest. That's what a credit card is. But see, a lot of us don't know that. You get a credit card. You think that means you're supposed to go out and buy a $50,000 car when you can really only afford a $20,000 car. What you really should have done was, since you can afford a $20,000 car, go get a $12,000 car. That's what you should have done. And see, we don't like to do that. Black people, we don't like to do that. Once we get a couple of dollars, we like to let people know that we've got a couple of dollars. Even if we have to fake like we've got a couple of dollars, hence the debt and the credit cards and all this other stuff. If you can't afford to buy the home, why are you buying it? Because you'll never be done paying for it. So your children can't get it. The bank will just come foreclose on it when you're dead or when you lose your job. So that's the kind of education that I mean. Knowing that simple stuff. The word investment is a dirty word in the Black neighborhood, especially among the poor, because we don't know what it means. We have no idea. We just don't know. Investing is something white people do on Wall Street. We don't know what that is. Nobody ever taught us, and we're too scared to learn it. Many of us, not everybody. So it's a combination. We like to live above our means. We don't understand credit and debt. And then we don't, and this is all when we do have money to work with. And don't let us not understand that stuff and then we working paycheck to paycheck. This is horrible. So we would have to actually get out of certain mindsets in order for the money that we do have to benefit us, because we could collectively pool our money together, but we're very individualist also. But as a community, we actually could pool together a lot of money, but we don't know what to do with it. We don't know how to manage it. And that's, I think, is a big problem.
Okay, well, I think the answer to poverty is, I don't know, I think Black people need to, I guess, work together more. A lot of us tend to have this idea of being like super individualistic, and we just do whatever we want with our money. And like, it seems like the only time we ever want to come together is if somebody insults us, like a fashion designer, or I don't know, or if somebody beats up a chick at a beauty supply store. All of a sudden, that's when we want to be like, okay, we're gonna take our money out of here and we're gonna invest in our own beauty supply store. But like, I think we could have done that before, instead of waiting until we were in such a bad condition to work together. It's like some really bad shit has to happen to us before we decide to be more responsible with our money. So I think Black people need to work together more in how they, I guess, use their money. We need to be smarter with our money. And yeah, that's basically what I think, like with our poverty situation.
Yeah, because you always hear this total of 1.2 trillion, 1.4 trillion, 1.6 trillion dollars of spending power that the Black society as a collective have. But what you often don't hear is how much of the shit we spend on other shit. You don't hear about that. You always, we got 1.2 trillion spending power. We've got more spending power than some countries. Yeah, we do. And we spend a lot of the shit with white folks, the Asians, and damn Hispanics. Okay? We as Black people, do you know that on a whole, percentage-wise, all the Black people in this country, that whole 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, whatever it is, trillion dollars, do you know what percentage of that we actually spend with each other?
Mm-mm.
About 5% of
That's
that.
a misappropriation of funds.
Absolutely. So
I
now,
thought it was lower than that.
Yeah, it's about 5. I think it's risen to about 5%. It used to be about 3.8. I think it's risen over the last 5 years. So, but on a small, if you're on a smaller basis, like in say your town or your city, we spend about 97% of our money with other people. Only about 3% of our money do we spend, in black stores, black businesses, black mechanics, stuff like that. I mean, 97% of it goes to white people, Asians and Hispanics, mostly Asian and Hispanics. I mean, Asians and white people, they get the most of our money. Hispanics, we don't give them too much of our money. They don't get too much. They get some, but most of our money goes to white people and Asian people. That's where most of our money goes as a collective. And as far as poverty goes, I think that poverty is more of a mind state. And you ladies touched on something. When Lady Classic said poverty is going to be fixed with sacrifice, she hit the nail on the head with that shit. Because see, if you're a person that's living in poverty right now, right, you're living in poverty and you happen to have children. Why poor people want to have babies, I don't know why, because their asses is broke. But if you happen to have babies and you're living in poverty, you can teach your children how to get out of it. You can indoctrinate your children how to get out of it. You can invest and sacrifice to make sure that they get out of it. And I think that that's one of the major problems that we have. We don't teach our children when we're living in poverty. We don't teach our children how to get out of it. We don't teach our children to look at our lives and strive for something better. We kind of keep our children in that same holding pattern that we're in, because because I know it's hard to get out of poverty. I know people that have lived in poverty for years, and it's not easy to get out of it. But I think it's a little easier to teach your children how to get out of it,
Yeah, I
And
do.
and
I don't think we pass the torch. We don't pass the torch to one
no,
another. We won't, each one
no.
teach one is just a notion. It's not a reality.
And I think we have a tendency to, I often say this, we think we're going to make a situation better by making it worse. If you're already in poverty and you have one kid, two kids, it's probably not a good idea to have 3, 4, 5, 6, and number 7. It's probably not a good idea if you already, eating deep fried roaches already. Okay. You don't need to bring child number 3, number 4, so y'all can divide the deep fried roaches by 3 instead of by 2 now. So, I mean, that's where I think we make bad decisions.
I was just
You just
about to
gonna
say, you gonna let him get away with that?
roaches. We're not gonna let you get away with
I
that.
mean, if you are, I'm saying it is what it is. I know Lady Kendra, she be always trying to get me to stop,
Yeah,
when I say
he's
this.
just gonna let you get away with that.
but it's true though. I mean, if you broke, your ass is broke. I mean, we can pathologize about, a lot of times, we pathologize, and I do it myself too. That's why I say we pathologize the causes of poverty and how poverty happens and who makes poverty and all that kind of stuff. But once you're in that shit, you know it. Okay. You know your ass is poor. It's not like you're poor and you have these delusions of grandeur that you're wealthy. You know your ass is poor with kid number 1. You know your ass is poor, kid number 2, number 3, number 4. So by the time you get to kid number 2, you know your ass is broke because you knew your ass was broke with kid number 1. So why go to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Because every child that you have is not going to do anything except make your ass more broke. One of the biggest barriers to getting out of poverty is what? Having children. That's one of the biggest barriers.
Brother Xavier, the problem is that they're not comparing themselves to the everybody in the world and those above them. They're comparing themselves to those right on their level. So even though I got 5 kids, I'm better than the chick down the street with 7. I'm still able. 3 of my baby daddies are still involved, and she don't even know who her baby daddies are. Like they're comparing each other on that level instead of trying to look above and say I want to strive to be better. That's not even a possibility. Some people don't even know that they can be better because it's generational. It's like their great grandmother, their grandmother, and their mother, everybody has been poor, everybody is illiterate. you know it's just unfortunately that's just what it is. And then when you do try to reach back down, they look as if you're trying to be conceited or sedity, or you think you're better than, because a lot of times black folks that do get out of the hood, instead of still maintaining that spirit that got them out of the hood, and that communication and that relatable part of them, they choose to try to whitewash it away because they've been lulled into a false insecurity that now that they made it, they're no longer black.
So
Mm-hmm.
when you have black people who think like that, Lady Ming, is that our new currency? I only got 4 kids. She has 7. 2 of my baby daddies is in my kid's life, and none of her baby daddies. Is that the new? Is that the new? Is that the new currency? Is that the equivalent? Is that like
You know
having
what?
money? Is that the new money?
No, brother X, you know what the real currency is for black people is attention.
Mm.
Going on social media and
Yep.
seeing how many freaking likes they get on a
Mm-hmm.
video or a post or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, girl, you did that. You did that. Did what? Did something stupid? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Unfortunately, it is like the new currency because a lot of people are living in stereo, and by that I mean they're almost thinking they're living in reality TV. They're living on Instagram and social media and things like that, and that's what they're trying to aspire to be. It's just it's a fucking vicious circle. They're not even trying to get out of the bubble and get into a new bubble. They don't even want two circles to cross over and meet somewhere in the middle. They're not even trying to think like that because they're being rewarded for the behavior that they have. The more ratchet and unacceptable you are, the better TV you make and the richer you can be. There's no incentive to be better. There's no incentive to strive for more than what you have. It's just like, I'm just being me. It's really not, you're not incentivized in no way. And then sometimes you're not incentivized because once you do reach to the top, you look at those people, they've lost themselves. And who the fuck wants to be like that? And the real people in the middle, which is us, we don't we're still trying to not be of the place we've come from and teach our children. So sometimes it's just not enough time to help somebody else, but we have a duty to actually make time. And I think these panels and conversations is our way of giving back as best we can with the time we have, and hopefully it flourishes into something else. So that's it.
You know what though, and if I could just add to that, because I think it all ties together to like what we've been talking about, and like what Kendra said earlier is, we think that, and we're almost programmed to think that getting a job is the height of success. And having a job, having something stable, that's it. That's all you're looking at. It's not about you starting a business. It's not about you being wildly successful, because I think that we are literally programmed that wild success is other. It's other than us, right? Education is other than us. Intelligence is other than us. And so I think what happens, because children naturally do this, they create culture, they create language, they create things on their own. It's because it's literally programmed into them. So what they're doing is they're saying, well, since all of that stuff is other, it doesn't belong to us. And we can never be that. And as Ming said, if we ever get there, we would lose ourselves anyway, because they don't realize that a lot of us who can play the game, because that's the thing, you have to play the game when you're climbing up that corporate ladder and whatever. You got to play the game. So you got your work face and your work personality and your work voice, and then you have your home voice, right? and they're just different things. But they don't realize all of that because they don't think that the game's for them. It's other. And so the only thing that they can do is they can rise to the height of success in, as being said, was that bubble, because they don't realize that it's not other, it's not either or. You can start where you are now and climb that corporate ladder without losing yourself. You don't have to sit there and say, well, you know what, if all I can do is sit in the hood and have babies, then I might as well be the best dick rider I can. And that's what you aspire to, is to be the best, to be able to sleep with every man, every woman's husband, or blah, 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 whatever it is. Because at the end of the day, you want to be successful. You want to be able to attain goals and reach for the stars, except you don't think that actual productive goals belong to you, because they're for the other, they're for everyone except for you, because you are in that same bubble with everyone else, and there's a ceiling to that bubble, but you don't belong on the outside of it.
Well, let me ask you ladies this. What do you believe? Because I'm a true believer that as black people within black society, that we have traded the ability and the desire and the interest to strive for maybe a better financial status. A lot of us have traded for other kind of currency, like we spoke of a few moments ago. We have traded the desire to achieve, to have more for ourselves and our children and for our lives. We have traded that off for other currency. And what do you ladies think some of those other currencies are that we have made the trade-off for, that we're willing to invest so much time and energy in, as opposed to investing time and energy into trying to build our damn lives? We're spending time and energy on
Sex.
What?
Sex. From a woman's perspective, I feel like the new currency is sex. Instead of doing better for yourself emotionally, financially, spiritually, instead you'll choose to do something physically, and then hopefully you'll snag a man who has invested in himself, and then he'll take care of you. Weak bitch shit.
Weak bitch.
I think it's we want more people to like us. Like, we want the love and validation of other groups of people more than anything else. So yeah, basically, if we're able to shop at a white store without being called a nigger or without being turned away or something, we're cool. Just as long as somebody doesn't call me a nigga, I'm fine. That's our new currency. And it's funny, I'll see people on social media, like, I've encountered some racist white people, right? And if they sit up there and call me a nigger, I don't even try to argue with them and stuff. I'm all like, I don't have time for your stupid self. But like, you'll have other black people on there, I can't believe you're so racist, da, 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 just whining and crying. And I understand why they're upset, but at the same time, I'm just like, why are you surprised? They've been like this forever. And you're not going to change their minds. But because certain people want the love of other groups of people so badly, it tears them apart. So I think that's the new currency for a lot of black people, is the love of other groups of people.
I have to agree with some of what Cass is saying, but also what Ming said, that especially from a female point of view, and which falls into a larger category of wanting what the television, what TV shows and movies say that we're supposed to have, without actually putting in the work to attain these things. It's another form of instant gratification. I want to be loved and liked and admired, and a lot of attention paid to me and a lot of adulation, but I don't want to be the type of person that naturally inspires that. I don't want to actually work on myself as an individual, look at my shortcomings, see how many of those shortcomings I can curb or I can do something about. Work on being an actual worthy person. Am I trustworthy? Am I a disingenuous person? Or what kind of person am I to inspire, other people to feel a certain type of way about me? We want people to feel a certain type of way without actually working on that. So I want to be a shit bag, and you've got to accept me for who I am, and you've got to love me for who I am, which is a total complete garbage. Okay, that's not true. People is being nice to you just because that's the social etiquette, but no one actually really likes you. And so this kind of ties back into what Ming said. For a woman to use sex as her currency, this is a woman who has not has not developed herself as a woman beyond that, and she doesn't want to, doesn't feel she needs to, doesn't think she has to. She'll barter her sexuality and her beauty to get the things that she wants, and she doesn't have to be a good person. She just has to be a pretty person, which only goes so far. Like we talked about the other week, hitting the walls, it only goes so far. So those are the currencies, just expecting, all of these people to have a good opinion of you and a good judgment of you, but you're not really the type of person that actually is doing anything to get that. You just want it because you think you deserve it. It also ties into a sense of entitlement.
I'm sorry, Brother X. Could you repeat the question, please?
I said, do you believe that we as a society, because I know I do, what things have we traded, as far as the ability, the desire and interest to, seek a better social economic status? What things have we traded? What's the trade-off we made? What are we looking for as far as another kind of currency as opposed to money and finances? What things have we traded? What was the trade-off? What are we aspiring for, basically?
Honestly, at the end of the day, I think the thing that we are aspiring for is attention and adulation and praise and acceptance. Um, and it really doesn't matter what group you're looking at. Like, I know we have the whole DNA thing regarding women, but I think that that is what we are all looking for in general. Especially when you're looking at our youth, they want to be, I mean, every kid wants to be popular. You want to be in the in crowd and whatever, but it's what does our in crowd want to be popular for? They don't want to be the best at something anymore, or to be the ones with the best possible, lives, or futures, or anything like that. It's like you want to be popular for being bad, or be popular for staying your pants lowest, or for having that Gucci blah blah blah, and getting that attention. And that whole idea persists into adulthood. Whereas, and I've gone to really poor neighborhoods, into really poor houses, and you come out and they have really nice cars with crazy $5,000 sound systems, and they've got the rims and they got the whole nine. And I'm thinking, you could trade that car in for a house. But the thing is they don't want a house. What they want is to be able to drive around the neighborhood in that car. And all those people they grew up next to, and maybe all the people who used to put them down, are going to sit there, look at that car, and go, God damn, you've got a nice car. Right? These women who were clowned when they were younger because they weren't attractive, or this or that or whatever, they want to be able to get the ass injections and, cinch in their waist, and, and have that attention, someone telling them how gorgeous they are, how beautiful they are, how they would give up their whole world. And, it doesn't have to be true. They want the attention. We want attention. We want adulation. We want praise. And we've decided that, since, again, we don't want to have to work hard for it, because we don't know what working hard really means to get anything. And we don't understand that while you're working hard, you might lose a lot of things. There's no instant gratification. A lot of times it's going to look like you ain't shit anyway. A lot of times it's going to look like everyone else is getting a better payoff than you because it's immediate and whatever. And so we don't understand all of that. So we want the instant fix. We want the instant attention. We want that 15 minutes of love and respect and adulation. We're looking for our 15 minutes of fame. And we actually think our 15 minutes of fame is something to aspire to. And we don't even care what it's for anymore. We just want to have it. The things that you see the youth these days getting famous on World Star Hip Hop for doing, like, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say girl and the tampon. And if you don't understand what that is, I'm not going to describe it further. But the point is, she wanted 15 minutes of fame. That's all she wanted. That's all she needed in life, is for someone to know who she was and to talk about her and to be on every blog site and Reddit entry and whatever. And that's it. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking to have that attention somewhere, to be famous somewhere, and we don't really care what it's for. And so as a result, as long as we can keep getting attention, and I honestly don't think we care if it's positive or negative, then we won't care what the trade-off is, and we won't care what we're losing out on because we're getting attention and adulation now.
Yes, it's actually a shame, man, that freaking perception and attention is now the new money. It's like currency. The more attention you get, and the perception of having something is actually it's a greater aspiration than actually having that something that you're pretending to have, which makes no damn sense to me whatsoever. Because a lot of us, unfortunately, a lot of us as Black people, we just broke. A lot of us are broke. And it seems like the broker we are, the more you have some people who have a lot of money and they like to flash and do all this kind of stuff, but it seems like it's more of us who don't have money who are the ones trying to put up the biggest front that we have it. You find the most flashiest, the most boisterous people about what they have. You find those people usually on the lower economic scale. You find those people who got the $45,000 automobile parked outside of a house that if you throw a damn rock at it, it would just collapse on itself. You see the women who walk around with the red bottom shoes and the $400 dress and the $400 in her hair and the butt shots and this and that. But meanwhile, her damn kids is at home looking like Ethiopians because she ain't fed them in 2 days. So you see a lot of that, which to me it's just mind boggling to me. Because I look at myself. Now, I own a business and my business isn't big. If I was to liquidate all of my equipment, if I was to go to my shop and liquidate everything I own inside that shop right now, it'll probably be on the lower end. It'll probably be maybe $35,000 I could get on the lower end. On the higher end, it would probably be maybe $50,000, right? So you're talking about $50,000 plus the life insurance that my wife has on me. My wife has $120,000 of life insurance on me. So you're talking about a person who's worth more dead than they are alive. So in total, I'm probably worth maybe like $170,000, $150,000 right up in there. That's my total worth. You know what I'm saying? With what I have and what my investments are in my business and my life insurance policy, I'm probably worth about $150,000, give or take 10, 12,000. So let me ask you ladies, how much are you worth? How much do you think you're worth?
$1 million. That's what I'm worth.
You're worth $1 million.
You got that movie. I don't know. It depends on how are we trying to quantify it. I'm worth. I'm worth
We quantifying it with money.
with money.
Well, how much you worth money wise?
My ego says all the money in the bank, whatever damn number that is.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's hard. I don't know. I gotta think about this a little bit more so it can be intelligent.
Okay. We'll come back to you.
Okay.
I
We'll
ain't got
circle
no damn
around.
money. I ain't got no money. I ain't worth two plug nickels. Whatever that next paycheck is, half of that ain't even mine. I don't got no money. I don't got no money saved. Well, I got that's a lie. I got a little bit of money saved up. But it's I mean, to say, oh man, I can put a dollar amount on, things that I own, my quote unquote assets. I don't have any. My assets consist of an Xbox One S, which depreciated the moment I took it out of the box. Uh and like a 7-year-old computer. I don't got no money.
I mean, is that what you mean? Like, what? How much will work based off of what we have right now?
Yeah,
I mean, because
what do you think you're worth in dollar value? What do you think you're worth? Like me, I think I'm worth maybe like $150,000, and 120 of that, would come after I'm dead. You know, yeah, I wouldn't see any of it. That's after my death. So
I don't know. I feel like and this is real talk. I'm not. This is honest to God how I feel. I feel like I'm priceless. And the reason being is because I have so much to offer way beyond, monetary or superficial things. I'm not a surface individual. I'm extremely passionate and intelligent, and I've been through so many things. I've probably lived 3 lives in my short 39 years on this earth. So I think that I'm invaluable. I give a lot of tutelage and advice to my siblings and my friends and people. People call me up like, I know you're going to tell me the truth. I'm respected for my opinion and my brain, which is how I set my life up to be. I know that I'm an attractive woman, but that's never where I have placed my value. It's always been on my brain, and I've done everything I can to cultivate that. So it's really hard to put value on that, considering I'm talking about something in a society that doesn't value that, you know? But I would have to go with priceless if I had to answer it. But to be quite honest, it's really hard to quantify because I'm a very strategic person, and I did come to the table when I married my husband with my own things. He didn't have to take care of me. And now, granted, he helped me out because you guys know my story or whatever. But even then, I'm still a hard worker and willing to do whatever is necessary to make sure that we get to the next level. I don't have any ego in that regard. So I guess I would have to say that would be my perspective about quantifying my value on this earth.
okay. Next up.
Well, I'm just gonna go based off of my savings. I'm worth a little over $10,000.
Okay. So
Um.
go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry.
No, go
Okay.
ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I guess um, it's two different things, really, right? Because I think that there's also this concept of your projected worth or your projected value. So not just what I am worth today, if I were to drop dead, for example, but what will I be worth in 5 years or 10 years if I were to drop dead? Because I think those answers would be significantly different. Um, so, I really do plan on having my PhD within the next 10 years. So, with that being said, if I have my PhD and I am working in any type of hospital or practice, then, my life insurance policy goes from paying off between, I don't know, maybe 200, $300,000 to maybe paying off over 1,500,000. So there's that. There's the projected value of my house in the next 5 to 10 years will be over $1 million. The projected value, though, of the type of woman that I am, and as far as the type of wife and the type of mother I'll be, and the type of, I guess, guidance and care and compassion that I'm going to show not just to my own family, as I always have, and my own friends, but to the greater community as far as the charity work I'm doing, as far as what I'm trying to build, which are my community centers and everything like that. When I think about all of that projected, let's say in 10 years, like I think my value could be well over $10 million just as a dollar price. But I think with that being said, a lot of what I'm speaking about are not monetary things. You got to look at a trickle down effect. You've got to look at the inherent value of qualitative things instead of quantitative things, right? This is not when if I'm going to help you and save you, let's say when you really need it in the way you need it most, and that's going to help you stop now and be able to turn your life around and be on a more productive I guess, stream in your life. And, you know, as a result, you're going to get married, you're going to have a couple of children. Those children are going to grow up, become politicians. And that's all because I was able to intervene at a crossroads in your life and help you go down the right path instead of the wrong path. Well, how valuable is that? How do you put a dollar amount on someone literally changing your life and what the consequences of that will be in 50 or 100 years? So I think on a lot of levels, I'm with Ming, whereas when I say, I don't think you can really put a dollar value on my worth. I think that as a qualitative value, I do think that I rank incredibly high. And I think that I am worth everything. But, you know, I was raised by really conceited, vain people as well. So I've always thought that even before I had plans or any future aspirations. But I think that we need to stop trying to quantify ourselves by a dollar amount, by what we own, by what we have, by what we can earn or not, or whatever. I said that earlier. We need to start valuing ourselves and giving ourselves evaluations and other people evaluations based on those qualitative factors. Who are they? What do they do? What are they investing in themselves, in their families, in their communities, et cetera, et cetera? Because I think that is far more important than some dollar value.
Mm, very interesting, ladies. Um, now we talking about the we're talking about the cost of life tonight, right? And you know, we talked about everything at the top of the show. We talked about how much it costs to uh, give birth and cesarean sections. We talked about the cost of lights and water and gas and the cost of your food and your clothes and all that kind of stuff. But what do you ladies think is the cost of just merely existing? And when I say that, what I mean is this. If you're a person who doesn't do what all of you ladies do, because all of you ladies I know have lives and homes and jobs and houses and careers and stuff like that. All of you have that. There are many people who don't have that. And I'm not talking about the people who live in poverty or the people who live in the ghetto, because a lot of those people, they are poor, but they also are the working poor. You have people who merely exist. And when I talk about existing, it's sort of like the guy I talked about earlier when I said the 36-year-old brother who lives in mom's basement, plays Xbox for 8 hours a day, and mom probably bought their Xbox. What do you think the cost of that brother's existence, okay, his existence, what do you think his cost does to, say, his mother, who has to pay for the lights and the water and electricity and the food that he consumes? She probably buys his cigarettes. She probably has to buy extra meat. She has to buy extra vegetables. She has to buy. What do you think that toll is, not just in financial costs, but mental costs to support someone who just merely exists? Because make no mistake, brothers like that, they're just existing. And like I said, we can pathologize on why they're doing it, but the fact remains that it is just an existence. So what do you think? What do you think the mental and financial toll of that is?
If at the beginning of the conversation we said it's about $250,000 to take care of a kid up to 18, right?
Yes.
let's just double that every 250, just every 18 years, just add that together. You know what I mean? If you want to look at it like
half
that.
$500,000 for
You
you
know what
to
I'm saying? Because
exist.
essentially you have a child, and in terms of the other cost of that, I've actually witnessed that, my grandmother and my uncle, for instance, he's never moved out of my grandmother's house. And he has to be like 55, 56 right now.
Wow.
He's a heroin addict, in and out of rehab and stuff like that. And I've seen the toll and the drain a person like that can have on you, because you can't rationalize a mother's love. You
Mm,
can't tell a mother to forego their child, to kick them out, to don't do nothing for them, let them pull herself up from the bootstraps, if that's not inherently who she is and what she believes as a person, and willing to have the wherewithal to see through to the end, which a lot of people don't have because it's hurtful. I myself have been through that a little bit with my daughter, who just made 23 Wednesday.
mm,
We went through some things where I did have to cut her off, and I cried every day. And we probably didn't speak for a year or a year and a half. And, with her being in school and everything else, it was it's hurtful, it's hard. If I was a weaker individual, I would have kowtowed or bended to what she was trying to get me to do, which was not rational. And because I have the foresight, I know what's going on, and a lot of people don't implement that foresight. Therefore, not only do they carry the burdens that they have of their own and maybe even of their spouse, they're now also carrying the burdens of their children. They don't quite understand what it means to cleave, and the cleaving part of it, whether that kid has a spouse or not, you still need to be getting them ready to be independent outside of the family they came from, and start creating a family of their own and a legacy of their own. So I've seen, I mean, luckily my grandmother, no, she didn't die early or anything like that because of the issues, but I definitely believe that her life was changed dramatically. Her and my grandfather's life would have been much different if you didn't have two drug addict uncles who were, siphoning off everything you have at every chance they got. And she was, God bless my mother, whom I love dearly, wasn't strong enough to say, hey, it stops here. You have to do this, that, and the third. She just wasn't like that. She was like codependent on them as well. And that's what it creates. Especially if you're allowing a child to sit up in your home and in your basement and do nothing. It's a codependency. You're getting something out of it, whether you want to admit it or not. It's almost selfish,
mhm.
because it stops being about the kid and it starts being about you. You know what I'm saying? Because can nobody sit there and rationalize allowing a person to not do nothing, not be a contributing member of society, is better for them or the people around them? You cannot make that make sense. So that means that it's not about them, it's really about you.
Mhm. I agree. Next up.
You know, my grandma also went through a similar thing with one of my aunts, where my aunt was supposedly sick, although I think she might have been faking around or something just to mess with the people at her job. But she wasn't really contributing anything because she wasn't making any money. Like, she was basically living off of the her disability, or no, not disability, but I think workman's comp or something, while she was out of work. But she wasn't really contributing anything to my grandma's household. And my grandma would always, like, every once in a while, she would, you know, burst into tears talking about how it's so hard to take care of this house and nobody wants to help her and yada yada yada. But at the same time, she this speaks to what Ming was saying about there's a codependency. She, at the end of the day, let my aunt do that because she enjoyed the company. Because, like, at the time, my grandfather just passed away. So I think, on one hand, people who let other people do that, yeah, it costs them a lot of money, and it probably cost them a lot of stress as well, because they have to take care of this grown person who doesn't want to do anything, but at the same time they feel like they're getting something out of it. I think they feel like they're important to somebody because somebody's letting them take care of them.
Exactly.
I don't have nothing to add. They pretty much covered it.
But do you believe that because y'all spoke of codependency, but when you talk about codependency, a lot of times no one's getting helped. I mean, because you're not really helping the person when you're doing that. You're really not. I mean, you may think you are in the short term, but in the long term, you're really not. And the person who's providing it, they're definitely not being helped because they're losing on every turn. Okay. Whatever they're doing, whatever they would be doing for themselves, they're doubling it. If they bring another person into it, they're doubling it. So no one's being really helped in that situation. They're really not. They're not being helped at all. And this person who is the existor, okay, or should I say the existee? The existee is basically living off of the existor. So the existee, they're benefiting, they're getting a life, they're getting a place to live, they're getting the food, they're getting the heat and water and lights and all that kind of nonsense. But at the same time, only thing they're learning to be is learning to be complicit. They're learning to be complicit. And the longer that you are complicit, the more you want to be complacent. Let me say that again. The longer that you are complicit, the longer you're going to want to be complacent. So what that person is being trained to do is being trained to just sit there and be that existee. And I don't think that helps. I think a person is helped more. They're helped more when they get the toughness, when they get the, hey, you need to do something, when they get the, hey, you got 30 days and I want you gone. I just think that helps them more because you're not helping them by letting them continue to just let them continue to survive based off of your survival. Because guess what? If dad and mom die today, what happens to the person who's been living in the basement now that they're 36? What happens to them? Unless mom and dad got some kind of life insurance or mom and dad own that house that they live in, what happens to them? What happens to them when mom dies? What happened to them when dad dies? What happens? I mean, they're 36, they're living in the basement, they haven't worked like ever. What happens to them? They become the person on the side of the road with the can in their hand saying that I work for food, I would imagine. So I think that we as a people, we have a lot of that. I mean, we have a lot of that. I've seen it countless times. Okay. I've seen it, and I've mentioned it to people in my family because I have sisters. All right. I have sisters. I've mentioned it to them, because they have a lot of it going on. I have female friends. They have a lot of it going on. So they're not helping. I mean, they're just not helping. Me, I believe that if you want a person to see their own worth, sometimes you have to let them know that you see your own worth with them excluded from it. Because, see, you don't want to have a collective thought on worth. When you talk about worth, I don't want to say me and you is worth something. Me and you have this. Me and you are going to do this. This is me and yours. No, this is mine. So therefore, you have to make your way to get yours. You at least have to be making an effort for that. Even if you can't totally achieve it, to begin to gain some degree of my respect, you have to be at least making an effort towards that. For you to just be sitting around just nothing, no, my respect will never come. Yeah, it's never coming. You have to be at least making an effort for that. So let me ask
And
you,
could
ladies.
I
Go ahead,
I just wanted to add something to that really quickly, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So I guess basically what a lot of people think in these codependent relationships, when they look at them on the surface, they think they're symbiotic. Everyone's getting something from this. So, the person who is enabling you to come and, not work and not this and not that, but they're giving you attention, right? They're maybe helping you fluff your pillows and do your dishes. And so it seems symbiotic on the surface. Everyone is getting something for this. But in actuality, the person who is doing absolutely nothing except throwing you a bone here and there, it's actually a parasitic relationship. And that's where you need to look at it. Like if someone is living at home with their parents because they've either moved back in or they're living there because that parent is unwell. Say that parent has cancer or some type of terminal illness or, Alzheimer's or something. So you're not going to leave because you're going to care for them. Well, that's not, in that case, you're looking at a codependent relationship, right? So it's symbiotic because sure, you might be living for free and not paying bills because, whatever has already been paid off, et cetera, et cetera. And maybe you're buying your own food and, paying your own clothes stuff. But you know what? You're getting kind of free room and board. But at the same time, you are actually going to be fulfilling a role as far as being a night nurse. You're being a nurse. You're, doing all of the errands and this and that. You're being, the PT worker. You're kind of doing something. So it is actually symbiotic in nature, right? That's a very different situation than you've got a finished basement and your kid's living in your finished basement, doesn't pay any rent, doesn't pay any bills. Sure, maybe goes to work, wastes all their money on whatever. There's no savings plan attached to that. There's no future goals attached to that. It's literally about not having to take care of themselves. And you know what? But you get them for dinner every night. And they talk to you and you're not lonely and the house isn't empty. And so you hear noise in it still. That's not symbiotic. It's parasitic. And what it's done is it's told the person who is enabling this couch potato to continue doing so. It's telling that enabler that they literally cannot be alone. And so on one side, you are literally infantilizing yourself because you are telling yourself that your company isn't good enough, right? That you being alone with yourself isn't good enough, that your thoughts are too scary for you to sit alone with them and you can't manage by yourself because you start telling yourself these things. And that's why it makes it worth it when you're looking at the fact that you've got, double mouths to feed and double the bills to pay and all of that stuff. And you start telling yourself, yeah, but I would be alone otherwise, and it would be too hard for me. And oh well, that vacuuming, it's too hard. Hey, you know what? You could always pay a maid. It might actually be cheaper for you to do that than to continue paying half of someone's bills. And that person is going to give you dinner every night, maybe. And that person at the same time, whether it's your kid, it's your cousin, it's your aunt, it's a friend, whoever it is, that person has also now learned that they don't have to be responsible. They don't have to take care of themselves because they have something, an organism that they're literally going to suck dry. Now, the problem is with that is that if mommy and daddy die in the situation, they aren't going to go and be homeless because you know what they've learned is they've learned how to be a parasite. So they're going to go find something else or someone else to attach themselves onto and suck that person dry. And so, you know what, Brother X, you're absolutely right. It takes someone at the very beginning, really early, when they're young, as soon as you realize what's happening, to cut off that source and to lovingly explain why you're cutting off that source and then to stick to it. It's like an addict. Right? You stop giving the addict money, you stop giving the addict support, you don't give the addict somewhere to shower every once in a while just because you want to make sure they're not dead, and you don't take the addict's phone calls. And you know what? The only phone call you're going to take is the one that says, okay, I'm ready to get clean. Right? This is what they tell you in those interventions. It's exactly the same thing. Right? You cannot sit there and say, oh, well, but I don't want my daughter to be homeless. Oh, but I don't want my niece to be homeless or whoever it is. They made their bed. They've got to lie in it. Now they're grown-ups. They're not children. They have all of the same benefits and opportunities that everyone else does in this shitty, shitty world. So at the end of the day, if they're not making an effort, if they're not striving, if they moved in and it was supposed to be for 30 days and it's 3 years later, they have absolutely become complacent because they have found a host to be a parasite onto, and they will suck you dry. And at the end of the day, that will be now their new strategy in life. And that's not something for either side that's going to be beneficial or productive. And you've got to end it.
Yep. And I'm looking up there and I see the watch numbers have exceeded the like numbers once again. Now I must chastise the audience. Take your hand and put it right over that number there. You see that number down there? See that number right under watching now? I need that watching now number to match those like numbers. So just take that mouse and kind of ease it over there, folks, and click that like button. It only takes a second. 1 second. 1 second. That's all it takes. And if you're feeling generous tonight, you can go ahead and click that there too and drop a few coins in the bucket. If my mods would be so kind to post the other chat, I guess that's the PayPal right there. If my mods would be so kind to post the old Streamlabs chat. So come on, y'all, and go ahead and hit that button down there. You see that button down there? The one that goes like this. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one. The one that goes like this, hit that button. Because you know here at old TPOT, we don't like the watch numbers to exceed the like numbers. Come on. Look out for the brother. Yeah, so let me ask you ladies this then. Say you got a blank slate, right? Because we're talking the cost of life. You got a blank slate, right? You don't have whatever money you have now. You don't have whatever careers you have now. And you have a choice. What do you want? You want money or love?
I want love. So, I mean, money doesn't really mean that much to me. It really doesn't. Like I said, to make sure that I'm not going to starve to death, be homeless, have clothes on my back, and I'm not going to freeze to death in winter. That's about all I really need. So for me, money, like I said, there's no value inherently to money for me. I don't care how much money you have. I care about love. I care about who you are. I care about how you treat me. I care about how you make me feel and how I feel about you. So, and that involves not just, significant others, but friends, family, everybody. For me, it's not about what you have or what you can offer me, or, it's more about how do we connect, and do we care, and what can we provide each other on a mental, emotional, psychological level that will keep us shored up, so that way we can do what we individually need to do to not just survive but to thrive, to be successful in more ways than just monetary gain.
Yeah, I agree with Ruby. She hitting on all cylinders. I'm love over money. I would not want to have money and I didn't have any love. That's a abysmal living situation, existence. That's horrible. I mean, you see how it tears people down. If you just look at the examples put forth, like the celebrities and other rich people who don't have any love, they're surrounded by a bunch of yes men and women, but that's only because they love the money. It's not because they love you. And love has healing power as well. The people who are in comas and things like that, or who are trying to get through really tough and hard treatments in order to get back to regular life, they push through because of love. Because not if they don't believe in themselves, they know they have a good loving group around them who believes in them for them. So love is extremely powerful. I would definitely choose love over money every day. Even if I had to be in love in a cardboard box on a corner, I would prefer that than to be rich and empty.
I agree. I think they hit all the other points, everything I was gonna say. So yeah, I would pick love over money.
Wow. You really are unicorns, aren't you? You really are unicorns, aren't you, ladies? Um, Let me say this. I don't know if we're going to go into overtime tonight. We actually got quite a few people watching that. I'm actually surprised. Um, a lot of times I think we get a little caught up with money. I mean, we laugh and joke, and talk shit about money. And I think a lot of times we do get kind of caught up, with our monetary status, how much money that we have or how much money we do not have. I think we get caught up in that a lot. Um, but I think it's something that's been it's been indoctrinated into us. I mean, of course, I mean, my father was a hunter, and me and my father, I mean, sometimes we would be out in the woods for days, and this was before the days of cell phones and all that other kind of crap. So we'd be out in the woods for a couple of days, and we fished and hunted, and we lived just fine. So if it came down to it, and I had to go out and like live in the woods and hunt and fish and make my own shelter and all that shit, I probably could. I'm pretty sure I could, but in real time, in reality, it's not what I would want to do. I would be doing that out of necessity. That would be circumstantial, not choice. That'd be out of circumstance, not out of choice. And what I think money often does is gives us choice more than anything else. You hear people talk about financial freedom. I don't think so much money gives us financial freedom. What it does is give us freedom to make financial choices. That's what I believe money does. It gives us more choices. Now, within Black society, the choices we make with a lot of the money that we have are irresponsible choices. The choices are very irresponsible, especially those of us who don't have a lot of money. Because even myself, I mean, I do some stupid shit with my money sometimes I shouldn't be damn doing. But, I'm one of those people where, I'm not rich. I live a middle class life. I don't have a lot of money. Some days shit my ass be flat broke. I have to slap my lady on the ass and get $50 from her sometime. And I know that there are people out there who are way more irresponsible than me. So I can just imagine how irresponsible they are with their money. We as a people, I think, as far as financially, what's going to make us more financially solvent is, like you ladies talked about earlier, first, teaching our children how to be financially solvent. And second, making better decisions on our own right now. Because think about it. When you talk about money, how many of us in Black society, when our kids are born, we actually start a bank account and we're putting shit in it up until the time they're 18 or 19 or 20 or 21 or when they're going off to college? How many of us have life insurance on our children? How many of us have life insurance on ourselves? I mean, we don't think in terms of money. We don't think in terms of financial security. We don't think in terms of, financial future. How many of us have put money to the side for our kids to go to college? How many of us have put money to the side for our kids to do any damn thing? How many of us have put money to the side for us to do anything? And it's not like we couldn't do it. I think we could do it if we really wanted to. I really do. Even if you started at like $1 a week, $2 a week, $10 a month. I mean, because we blowing that kind of shit on weed, liquor, beer, cigarettes, blunts. I mean, crack. All that. We blowing way more dollars than that. Okay, on our vices. So our vices alone range in the billions of dollars. That's what a lot of people don't understand. Our vices, like cigarettes, liquor, beer, tobacco, cigars, wine, shit like that, lottery tickets, billions of dollars we throw away on that shit. Billions. If we were just to take a small percentage of that shit and invest in ourselves and or our children, what would that look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? What would that look like? So I want you ladies to tell me what you think what you think would be the best investment for, say, let's not even talk about poor people. Let's talk about people in general, a regular, normal person like myself. What would be the best investment? See, I'm lucky. I don't have any small children. All my children are adults. Thank God. But for a regular person who has, say, small children, that's like, say, 3, 4, they've made irresponsible ass decisions. They haven't saved nothing, but they've had a revelation. And they say, okay, unicorns, I want y'all to tell me what to do to prepare financially these kids. Go.
The
I'm
best
sorry, can you?
the best investment would probably be something along the lines of a whole life insurance policy, one in which you can borrow against, or you know that also could handle some of the incidentals that happen along the way, especially if there was a death to be incurred. If you had to actually do some investing like that, I recently was presented with the investment opportunity of a I think it's called the UL, which was pretty cool. I don't want to break it down because I don't want to misspeak, but something along those lines. I don't think that you should solely put all your eggs in the 401k basket or the likes of such, even though they're very, very helpful. I mean, when I left my job and decided to be a stay-at-home mother, cashing out my 401k was the down payment on my home. And with the right accountant, I was actually able not to even pay that 20% penalty when tax time came around. So, I'm not going to just say that 401ks and things of that nature aren't beneficial, because they are, but you got to have your money in a lot of different investment vehicles. But if you're going to do something like life insurance, it should be something that you're able to get money from along the way, as well as will be prepared for the death of that person. Um, and those that be able to help those who are after them, or whoever the beneficiary are, areas are of that policy. I mean, if we're just talking money, you know, and it depends on too how much knowledge you have in the stock market and how risky of an investor you are. I'm more conservative as it pertains to that. I'm actually one of those type of people who would put my money in a mason jar under the bed if I could. Not to say I can't, but I'm just saying. Because I just feel like a lot of shit is going down, and banks just aren't as secure as they want to appear to be. But something along those lines, if we're just saying financial, and how to be financially solvent and look for the future, that's probably the way I would go initially.
Mm. Next.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question for me?
I said, just a regular person, regular everyday person, not a person in poverty, just a regular person. They got a couple kids. They were very irresponsible the first few years, but now they've had a revelation and they want to do something. And they come to the unicorns and they say, what should I do to invest in the children and myself? What should I do? What would you tell them?
Okay, the first thing I would do is I would tell them what they need to do is sit down with someone who really understands finances. You want to hire a consultant and look at where your debt is. Look at whether or not maybe a debt consolidation loan might be a better plan for you than trying to pay off all the debts in individual places. Normally, debt consolidation loan uh, is a good solution if you can, if you can qualify, if you can find a good lender, because what can happen is you can literally pay off all of those bad debts right off the start. So right away they stop hurting your credit, and then by you paying back this loan on time in full, you never miss a payment. You set it up and you structure it so that way you're paying it off in 3 to 5 years. And again, it doesn't matter if you have to sell your car, your soul, whatever, to make sure that you never miss a payment. You make sure that you stay on top of the debt consolidation payments, because that is helping you to build new credit. Um, then you want to look at, and I mean, probably simultaneously, you do want to look at things like life insurance, for example. So I've had life insurance on me. I found out in my teenage years, I was really insulted, basically almost my whole life. But the point is that when you die, you might die. You might die suddenly from a car accident or whatever it is. And you're either going to be in horrible debt trying to bury a loved one, or that loved one has life insurance, and that life insurance will be able to cover the cost of funeral expenses, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to make sure that you've done that. But the debt consolidation process, what you're also looking at as well is, now, what can you do to own? Because renting is a trap that keeps you in that trap for the rest of your life. It's incredibly difficult to get out of the renting trap and to get into home ownership. But that is the best investment you can make over getting yourself a nice flashy car, over wearing nice clothes. You know, the one thing you want to do is be able to invest in a home, make sure that your home is properly insured as well. And, you know, you start building a life and a family in this neighborhood, and, you know, you have equity in this home. And every day that you're paying towards it, you know that you're building equity. And so those are the things that I would just do off the bat. And all of the sacrifices and all of the penny pinching and all of the balancing I would be sharing with my kids. I mean, obviously not in some scary way or some overwhelming way, but you know, you got to share with your kids. What are you trying to accomplish here? How are you trying to exceed when you're going to work an extra job and now they're not going to see you a couple of nights a week? You need to explain to them where that's coming from, not just, well, I got mouths to feed, or, you know, well, at least I got clothes on your back. No, they need to understand why it is. Why are you trying to do that? Oh, you need to make up this deficit. Why? Because you're going to start building a savings for each one of them. Why? For college funds, whatever the case is, right? So they need to understand where your energies and your finances are going, and also why it is that they've got to keep those lights off. You know what I mean? And why it is that they've got to not run the water for extra time. Why it is that when they ask for something absolutely ridiculous, that's $1,000, that it's a no-no and that it's not a punishment for them. It's just that you can't afford it because you're thinking about the future. And you've also got to do all of that in such a way that you are still investing time and energy into their futures as individuals. So I think that, you know, remembering that it's not all about bringing in the money, and it's not all about being able to make those savings or to fix that credit. It's about so much more than that, because you know what, they need time for development, and they need time with you, and they need your investment as well. They need you paying attention. So you can't actually work yourself to the place where you're working 5 jobs, you never sleep, and you never see your kids. Or when you do, you're too tired to talk to them. When you do, you're too annoyed to talk to them. That's not going to help them either. So it's about finding that healthy balance, and building in that, say, 3 to 5 years and 5 to 10 years, you know, making those smaller goals month to month, day to day, whatever it is, and actually reaching them, celebrating those successes, making that a family affair where you're celebrating those successes and you're discussing, so that way they can see what you're building. As you learn the new financial steps, they learn the new financial steps, because they need to understand what credit is. They need to understand what debt is. They need to understand why you don't get into it and how you manage it, how you handle it, how it's scary, but you can go from being in your mid-20s to your early 30s and own a house and have 3 different credit cards with up to $10,000 balances on them. You can do that, but we need to both tell our kids, we need to encourage our kids, but we also need to show our kids and share with our kids as we do it as well. So I guess that would basically, in a nutshell, be my advice.
That's good advice. Lady Katz.
Well, I do agree with Ming about the life insurance thing, but what I would also go into is probably the route that my grandparents and my parents went into, which is when my grandma and my grandfather got a good chunk of money, they started buying houses and renting them out. They'd buy them, fix them up, rent them out. My dad started doing that. We got some people in our family who like to flip houses and stuff. So I think I would advise people to go more into like investing in property and stuff. And can I hear an echo?
That was me. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. And then another thing is before my grandfather passed away, he had a pool cleaning service. So what he would do with a lot of the kids in the neighborhood is he would teach them how to clean pools, and he even taught like some of us, like me and my cousins and my brother, about cleaning pools and stuff. So like over the summertime, they would have ways of making money, making some sort of income during the summertime so that they can stay out of the streets and doing like little stupid things that teenagers get into. So yeah, I would get into either property or like, I don't know, owning a business or something, you know?
Very, very sound advice from the U4, as always. And Lady Kendra just kind of slipped out like 10, 20 minutes ago. She just kind of slipped out. Her phone must have died or something like that. I'm gonna say this because we come to the end of the show, and I'm gonna say this. So I'm gonna ask my ever so kind moderators to put the donate links in the chat a couple times while I run my mouth and close out the show. I'm gonna say this. Many times when we talk about the cost of life and the cost of living, I think often we don't understand what that really is, what that really means. And we don't understand it because we were not taught to understand it. As we spoke of earlier, we need to start indoctrinating our children with what money means, what it does, what saving it means, what saving it does, what you can gain down the road from saving it, from putting things away, from investing. We need to be teaching our children that. And also, we may want to take a few courses on the shit ourselves as adults, because, like I said earlier, we have 1.2, 1.4, 1.6 trillion dollars amongst us as Black people collectively, but we spend probably 75% of the shit on bullshit. So we need to be a little more financially responsible ourselves, because if we're a little more financially responsible, that will ultimately trickle down to our children. It's hard for us to teach our children something that we don't know. It's like a Chinese speaking man trying to teach a French speaking man Russian. So I mean, we have to be a little more financially literate so we can teach that financial literacy to our children. I mean, we have to speak the language so we can get our children to understand the language, and then they can speak it and they can implement it. I think we have to get a little bit more involved with that. And secondly, one thing we have to understand is that as Black people, a lot of times we don't like to call a spade a spade. We are enablers of people not building their own wealth and not understanding what it costs to have them around, their mere existence. I mean, if you a mother and you got a kid in your house that's 30 years old and he ain't got no job, he ain't in college, he ain't doing shit. All he do is sleep all day, play games all night, eat up all the food, run water, burn gas, run lights. Trust me, mom, you're not helping this dude. You're really not. You're not helping them at all. And it goes for your daughters too. She ain't doing shit. She ain't in school. She ain't trying to work. All she doing is laying around all day, sleeping and trying to get babies in her. You're not helping her. You're not helping her by allowing her to do that. Because sometimes the best way to show people their worth is by showing them yours, what you're worth. And sometimes as Black people, we're not willing to make the tough decisions, because the tough decisions are usually, they're the hardest ones to make, but guess what? They're usually the best ones to make. It's easy to enable someone. It's definitely easy to enable someone financially. It's easy to hand somebody money. It's easy. Here's $20. Here's $30. Here's $50. That's easy to do. You know what's hard to do? To say, no, I'm not doing this shit. You need to go out and get your own money. No, I'm not supporting you anymore. No, I'm not enabling you anymore. No, I don't want you living here anymore. That's hard. But that tough, hard decision is probably going to be the best decision that you could make not just for that person, but for you too. Yeah, it'll hurt, but no pain, no gain, black folks. You know that's how it go. What would you rather have? Feel good now, hurt down the road? Hurt now, feel good down the road. Think about it. I want to thank the Unicorn for coming through tonight, man, and talking about this subject. I know it's a tough subject to get into. We're gonna have a little easier subject next week. Next week we're gonna get a little rated X up in here. Next week, I got some special plan for the unicorns. Next week, rated X Xavier up in here next week. Yeah. So when y'all get a chance, make sure you like, share, subscribe to this damn channel. Share it like you shared a 350-pound woman twerking. And when you get a chance, stop on by Prophet of Thought Series on Facebook. That's Prophet of Thought Series on Facebook. Don't go to the Prophet of Thought Series because I keep telling y'all I'm taking that page down, but y'all study going there. Go to the other one, okay? Because you go there's only like 40 people on there, so don't go there. Go to the other one. There's about 900 people on that account. Make sure you stop by the TPOT bandwagon on Facebook as well, and make sure you stop by the Prophet of Thought Series fan group page. Request to be a member. They'll let you in there quick. Also, you can stop by and check us out on WhatsApp and Instagram. That's Prophet of Thought on Instagram, and y'all know we got a Twitter. That's at TPOT Media on Twitter. That's at TPOT Media on Twitter. You better go to Twitter and follow me, or I'm gonna haunt your ass in your sleep. And make sure you stop by the website. The website is www.don'teventryit.wikifoundry.com. That's www.don'teventryit.wikifoundry.com. I want to thank everybody for coming by tonight, spending some time with us. All the viewers, the watchers, my moderators did a wonderful job as usual. I appreciate y'all coming through, spending some time with us as well. Once again, I want to thank T.L.O.T, the Ladies of Thought, the Unicorn 4, Lady Classic, Lady Cats, Lady Ming, and the disappearing act Lady Kendra for coming through tonight. They always lay down a good show. So make sure you have your black behinds here next Thursday, same time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, right here, because we will be doing another T.L.O.T Unicorn 4 broadcast. And next week is going to be hot. I'm not going to tell y'all what it is because, see, I'm going to tell my unicorns, but I'm not telling you. I will be telling the unicorns in the day to come, but I'm not telling y'all now. So you'll have to be on the lookout for the old promo to find out what it's going to be about. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for stopping by the old TPOT YouTube page, and make sure you come by here next Wednesday as well, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. We might do a free-for-all next Wednesday. I'm working on a guest for you guys, but you know the guest is kind of on the fence. So if they haven't let me know anything by, say, Sunday night, we're just going to go ahead and do a free-for-all. So just look out for that. You know, check the channel and stop by and find out what's going on. And so I thank everybody for coming through tonight once again. So with that, I will leave you with 3 words like I always do. Open your minds. And we out of here, y'all.
See you later. Thanks for having me.
Good night,
All right.
everybody.
Good night, y'all. Cheers.
Peace, unicorns. And peace, folks.
only from T.L.O.T.